CFAX Victoria,
an iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
it's here.
CFAX 1070.
Good morning. It is 6 o'clock on Wednesday, May 20th. It's 8 degrees right now. We've got a mostly sunny day in store, and I'll give you a full forecast in just a moment. But first, the news begins, and here is Lisa Best.
Thank you, and good morning, Ryan. Premier David Eby says he's not backing down from his comments Friday about awarding bad behaviour after the next steps towards a second Alberta pipeline to the BC coast. He says he's going to deliver that message to the Prime Minister when he meets with Mark Carney today.
The message I have for the Prime Minister is a pretty straightforward one. British Columbia backs Canada, and we need Ottawa to back British Columbia. We have $88 billion in projects, 34 different major projects, 40% of the projects at the Major Projects Office, real projects with proponents and routes and ready to go. And we have the British Columbians who are getting trained to be able to take the jobs these projects create through $250 million in new funding. We just need to see that same level of support that Alberta has seen from the Prime Minister right here in British Columbia.
Eby says the NDP government has also been talking to BC federal Liberal MPs about the situation. Meantime, Federal Environment Minister Julie DeBruson says Ottawa didn't enforce the federal backstop on Alberta's industrial carbon price as a gesture of cooperation with the province.
Prime Minister Mark Carney and Alberta Premier Danielle Smith signed an agreement on Friday on industrial carbon pricing, and many climate activists say this deal is weaker than what Ottawa already had in place. But Carney says the deal strengthens the system that was working in Alberta. DeBruson says fighting the provinces in court is not a path to a cooperative federalism, and since Carney has clawed back most of the Trudeau-era climate policies, DeBruson suggests the cornerstone of the Liberal government's commitment to reducing emissions has been a strengthened industrial carbon price. The new deal with Alberta likely means other provinces which were using the federal backstop will be able to use the provisions in the Alberta deal. John Kennedy, The Canadian Press.
Discussions of major projects during question period at the BC legislature turned into a bit of a shouting match yesterday. Things got spicy, and after a couple of stiff warnings, the Speaker actually ejected Skeena Conservative MLA Claire Rattay. Rattay explained why.
For me personally, this is a hill that I am willing to die on. I am fine with being kicked out of the chamber if it means that I'm speaking the truth. What the Premier did today was essentially disparage our entire caucus and claim that we were not supportive of LNG Canada. He made numerous comments about, where were they? Why weren't they supportive of this announcement? I mean, the reality is that the Leader of the Opposition and I were there touring LNG Canada when this announcement was being made. So it was just incredibly inaccurate.
She was seen off camera on her way to the session, still yelling and pointing a finger at Premier David Eby. We'll hear more from interim Conservative Party leader Trevor Halford. He'll unpack how things happened or devolved at 7:20 this morning on The Morning Show. A member of the Haltzik Nation Tribal Council says a human rights complaint filed against Canadian Tire and a security company went beyond one instance of racial discrimination. A traditional washing ceremony was held in East Vancouver last night with representatives from Canadian Tire and Blackbird Security apologizing for the incident 6 years ago in Coquitlam, in which Haltzik members Dawn Wilson and her father Richard had their bags searched and were subject to derogatory comments. Tribal Councillor Maria Martin says the harm from discrimination affects all Indigenous peoples.
This was not only an affront to Dawn and Richard's dignity and safety, it's part of a broader pattern of racial profiling and disrespect that Haltzik and other Indigenous people face in everyday life, and reinforce the ongoing reality that our people are often treated as suspect rather than valued human beings.
The washing ceremony was part of a settlement of the human rights complaint and also includes confidential financial compensation, a portion of which Dawn says she'll donate to the Union of BC Indian Chiefs. Well, federal officials confirming yesterday that this will be the last summer for several years that we'll be able to watch the snowbirds perform overhead, as plans to upgrade the aging jets leave the aerobatic team's future in the air, essentially. CTV's Graham Richardson has the story.
The Defence Minister announcing Canada will replace the aging jets with the new Siskin 2 prop planes. And it's not clear when Canada will take delivery of them.
It will take some time for them to roll off the production line. but we're moving as quickly as we possibly can.
It's not clear how long all of this will take.
I inherited a situation where the planes literally had come to the end of their lives. They were unique in many respects. They didn't have the parts and other things to safely fly.
Several years ago, the government invested $30 million to upgrade all the cockpits, and they're not finished yet.
So there is a final tour this summer, a number of days, probably at least 20 we're looking at. Victoria will see the snowbirds overhead performing on August 4th. And that is your news to 6:05. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question this morning. We are asking you, how confident are you that the snowbirds will return to Canada's skies in the early 2030s? 18% say they're very confident. That goes up to 35% saying somewhat. 47% say not at all. You can vote now at CFAX1070.com, also the iHeartRadio app. I'm Lisa Bastian, news time, 6:06.
I think it's quite the result. People saying they don't think the snowbirds are coming back.
It's almost half.
Huh.
Well, considering, recently we've had an influx of cash for military, but before that, things were a little dire. And now with the money that's going to the military, okay, but the catch-up that has to happen for just defending our borders, you think of that, and the snowbirds won't be defending the borders. They're purely for entertainment purposes, right?
True, but for training as well.
That's true.
That's part of it.
There's all of it. So maybe coming back, but maybe it's going to take a bit longer. I don't know. I'm in the somewhat category.
Yeah.
I just don't know.
I would suspect they're coming, but knowing how long it takes us to do anything, a delay is likely.
That sounds feasible.
But anyways, we're going to
it's like
have...
you know something.
We actually are going to be speaking with somebody in Ottawa who's been covering the snowbird story in just about 10 minutes to unpack this snowbird stuff. So we're going to get more into that here on the show, but let's do the sports first. Let's talk about the Vancouver Canucks to start. Newly minted Vancouver Canucks general manager Ryan Johnson is on the hunt for a new head coach after the club fired Adam Foote yesterday. Johnson says he has a few traits he's looking for in a bench boss.
Consistency, patience, the ability to connect with a young group and realize that we can't blanket players, that they each have their own path, their own journeys that you got to be attentive to. So those are just some obviously key components out of the gate that I always look for in a coach, regardless of where the state of the team is at.
Foote served just one season as Vancouver's head coach. He was elevated from an assistant after Rick Tocchet left the organization in May. Over to the on-the-ice stuff, the Colorado Avalanche, who have only needed 9 games to win 2 best-of-7 playoff series, will host the Vegas Golden Knights tonight in the opening game of the Western Conference Final. The Golden Knights eliminated the Utah Mammoth and Anaheim Ducks in back-to-back 6-game series. By the way, the Vegas Golden Knights also had an appeal to have their punishment reduced for breaking media access rules. But that's been denied by the NHL. That's according to 2 sources who spoke to the Associated Press yesterday. The team was docked a second-round draft pick after coach John Tortorella refused to speak to reporters, and the team did not open its locker room following the second-round series clinching victory last week at Anaheim. Tortorella was also fined, personally, $100,000 U.S. Rogers BCHL Cup Finals continue. Nanaimo is now down 2-1 in the series against the Brooks Bandits after Brooks nabbed a 2-1 overtime win last night in Game 3. Game 4 is tonight again in Nanaimo. And in women's hockey, the Montreal Victoire are aiming to hoist the Walter Cup tonight when they visit the Ottawa Charge, the fourth game of this best-of-5 professional women's hockey league championship series. The Victoire leading the series 2-1 after suffering a 2-1 setback on Monday in the nation's capital. All 3 games have been decided by 1 goal. That's your sports to 6:10. CFAX activity, traffic, and weather. It is 11 minutes after 6. Let's see what's going on out there. Much less busy of a day at BC Ferries. It was sailing waits for a lot of the morning yesterday, but today the 7 o'clock from Swartz Bay to Swanson still has some vehicle deck space left. No sailing waits right now. For the roads themselves, it's quiet at this time of the morning. No crashes, no accidents to report. We did have that update from the BC government yesterday that they've got a little bit of that bus widening project on the Trans-Canada Highway actually open. One of the lanes is open. That's the one that crosses kind of the Colquitts Bridges area of the Trans-Canada Highway. So that has opened up a little bit, although the rest of the project still continues to be completed in 2027. So much more of that project to come. So keep that construction speed going down the Trans-Canada Highway. For the weather today, it's getting a lot kind of just warmer and more settled today. After the last couple of days, we're now into some sunshine. We're going to see a little bit of breeze off the water. Highs of 20 degrees, cooler if you're by the Wantafuka Strait. Tonight, a few clouds, lows to 10. Got a mix of sun and cloud tomorrow, highs again to 20. Friday, sunshine, highs of 20. Saturday, sunshine, highs of 20. It kind of continues in this stable pattern for a few days before the clouds and maybe some rain return on Sunday. Right now, 9 degrees. Opening bells for North American stock markets will be ringing later this hour. While we await that, let's take a look at how yesterday closed with Aaron Sousa.
Canada's main stock index was weighed down yesterday by battery and base metal losses. Toronto's S&P TSX gave back 92 points to 33,741. In New York, the Dow Jones lost 322. The Nasdaq fell by 220. In Tokyo this morning, the Nikkei lost 746 points. The Hang Seng in Hong Kong was down by 146. Our dollar is trading this morning at 72.64 cents US. BC Premier David Eby is today set to meet with Prime Minister Mark Carney. Eby says he's looking for an equal level of enthusiasm as Carney's shown in Alberta's pipeline pitch and lower carbon price. Canada's Environment Minister says Ottawa didn't enforce the federal backstop on Alberta's industrial carbon price as a gesture of cooperation. Julie DeBruzen tells the Canadian press that fighting with provinces in court is not a path to cooperative federalism. And new Jell-O products south of the border are swapping artificial colors for fruit juice. From the Canadian Press Business Desk, I'm Aaron Sousa.
In the kitchen, in the car, and at the office. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070. Take us with you. Listen live on the free iHeartRadio app.
Hello, welcome to Wednesday, and welcome to CFAX 1070. Thanks for joining us here on a beautiful start to the day in Victoria or on Vancouver Island or wherever you happen to be listening or watching us from. Wherever you are, thanks for being here. And hey, Lisa, How
Yes,
you doing?
I'm good. I'm over here.
You're over there.
We've got people all over the place. We've got Don in Florida. We've got Up Island, right?
Yeah, we've got.
Mill Bay.
I do like because if you didn't know, by the way,
Yes.
you of course can listen to CFAX on the radio, but you can also watch us on CTV Vancouver Island or CTV2. It's sometimes listed on your little guide in the TV.
That thingy.
And because of that, we get people watching for us from all over the province sometimes, which is kind of fun. We'll get a text message from some far-flung part of BC. So hello to all of you everywhere.
We always know the time of year because we get a lot of people checking in from Mexico.
Yeah, on
and
the vacations. Yeah,
places more far-flung when the weather turns a bit.
And did you know you can also stream the program on Crave if you don't have regular old cable TV anymore?
Okay.
If you got a Crave subscription.
Choices are good.
And then you can watch the radio. It's a novel concept. We've been doing it for a while, but it's still makes me laugh sometimes. Radio on the TV.
You realize, I mean, we have all these options. It just makes it so much more accessible.
Yeah.
Which you just got to dial into them. That's the thing.
Oh, and I don't know if we've told anybody about this yet.
What's that?
Maybe I shouldn't even say it.
I don't know. It's kind of out loud now.
We've been mentioning the TV part of it.
Yes.
We've also started streaming it on YouTube.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Yeah, you can go to YouTube and just go and look up CFAX
creep us
1070
all
and
day long.
you can watch the stream. Watch this morning show on YouTube. You don't even need any of those other things.
It's like a fishbowl effect.
Yeah, we do kind of feel like we're in this little fishbowl.
We do dress up for you, though, so, give us props on the clothing at least.
Yeah, I comb my hair today.
Nice.
For you. I don't know if it looks like it. Anyways, it's
Ryan shows up with bedhead.
Yeah, it's sort of hard. I mean,
well, you do
morning
cycle
radio.
in too.
Yeah,
So.
got the helmet, got the bedhead,
Right.
got the whole thing.
It's like, what's going on? It's early.
We have, of course, been following the story of the snowbirds. The big announcement yesterday that it's the end of an era for the snowbirds. It's not the end completely, but it's the end of the snowbirds as we know them in their Tudor jets. We've been talking about the replacements that are coming and how it's going to be probably a little while before they come online. We'll ask some more questions and figure out what's going on here with CTV Ottawa Bureau Chief Graham Richardson, who's going to join us in just a few moments. But before we get to that, let's get caught up on the news headlines. And here is Lisa.
Let's start in the water off Vancouver Island. The federal government proposing about $164 million in funding for enhanced whale protection off our coast. The spring 2026 update calls for funding to go towards working with BC Ferries to adopt new technology to reduce underwater vessel noise by up to 50%. The funding would also go towards implementing and enforcing existing whale protection rules, such as vessel speed restrictions. Earlier this month, you may remember a jet ski hit a gray whale off Vancouver at high speeds that seriously injured the watercraft rider. As far as we know, the whale came off okay. Canada's foreign services cuts are disproportionately affecting positions based abroad. Data shows those rotational positions are being eliminated at 3 times the rate for global affairs staff based in Canada. Ottawa is cutting staff across departments to fund a surge in defense spending, but former Ambassador Jeremy Kinsman thinks the disproportionate cuts are a symbol of global affairs Ottawa-based employees not understanding the business that they're actually in. Speaking of business, the leaders of China and Russia have inked more than 40 cooperation agreements this morning, covering everything from trade to technology. The presidents of both countries met in Beijing for bilateral talks, during which they described their relationship as being the highest level in history. Both leaders highlighted their united front on international affairs. China has become Russia's top trading partner since the Ukraine invasion, despite sanctions involved. That's your headline news to 618.
All right, we'll get into more of the snowbirds story, what we know so far, and we will also get your traffic and weather updated in just a moment. If you got a crash, accident, or something else causing trouble out there, let me know at 71010. CFAX Morning Show brought to you by Bluebird Cabs. Need a cab? Download the new Bluebird Cabs app at Bluebird Cabs Ltd. They're proudly local and Canadian-owned and run since 1946. For the roads, things are completely clear. I've got no crashes, no accidents, no volume delays out of the West Shore as of yet. You will have paving again on Cook Street. This time it's around about Finlayson. That's the new zone. They just kind of started up yesterday, and that's going to be going for the next couple of weeks there. No waits at BC Ferries. 7 o'clock sailing is coming up next with lots of vehicle deck space left. And the weather is looking very sort of calm now from here on in. We got a mainly sunny day today. Highs of 20, a little cooler by the water, and then that just kind of repeats for the next 4 days or so, at least 2 and including Saturday. Sunday's where the clouds might come back in with a chance of showers, but for the next few days, enjoy just some nice summery kind of sunshine.
Ryan and Lisa. Mornings on CFAX 1070. Remember, you have us in the palm of your hand. For listeners on the go, listen live on the free iHeartRadio app.
Well, we're trying to figure out the fate of the Snowbirds, Canada's aerobatic team, as the Defence Ministry announced the pause in the Snowbirds as they retire the old Tudor aircraft, these 1960s Canadian-built jets that have been the only thing our Snowbirds team has ever flown. They need to be replaced. So in this time that they're getting replaced, we've got this gap where we won't see them flying after the summer. That was announced yesterday. We're trying to unpack more about what this all means. So joining us from Ottawa, the bureau chief with CTV National News, Graham Richardson, is here on the line. Sir, how you doing?
Good, Ryan. How are you? I'm actually still in Saskatchewan.
Oh, so
yeah, that's all right. I came out for the announcement yesterday to Moose Jaw.
Yeah, so Moose Jaw, and talk about the importance of Moose Jaw in this story, by the way, for those who don't know.
Yeah, I mean, look, they call the Snowbirds the Moose Jaw Snowbirds. They don't apologize for it. They love them there. There's a connection with this flying team for millions of Canadians, but especially deep in Moose Jaw. So, they're all a lot of military people, so they put on a brave face yesterday, but I know they're not thrilled with, as you mentioned, this pause, right? So at the end of 2026 flying season, you'll be able to see them one last summer at the air shows wherever they fly, and I know they were up in Comox recently, but this will be the final season of the Snowbirds as we know them, as they try to transition into these new jets sometime into new planes sometime into the 2030s. So a fairly significant gap.
Now, this announcement, talk about the politics of it, because I mean, if you're the government who happens to get caught needing to announce that the Snowbirds are going away, that's got to be a tough thing. How is the Mark Carney government playing being the ones who got caught with the hot potato?
Well, I mean, governments have grappled with this all the way for decades, literally for decades. I remember in the Stephen Harper days, they were struggling with what to do with Snowbirds. So, yes, the way they couched it was the fact that, or the way they explained it was, look, we're investing in the military. We're buying a lot of new equipment. We're transforming the military, and we will rejuvenate the Snowbirds. It will just take some time. And we kind of pressed them on how long it's going to take, because Canada has an abysmal record of military procurement. It's very, very difficult to buy, to get something bought and off the shelf and into the field, if you will. So I found it was interesting that the minister's press release and in his communications, they never gave a hard date for when this was going to happen, because quite frankly, I don't think they know for sure. He just said they're going to go as fast as they can and they're going to work with the manufacturer, and this isn't going to take as long as everybody thinks it's going to take. So we'll see about that.
Graham, we have a poll question running currently. We're asking, how confident are you that the Snowbirds will return to Canada's skies in the early 2030s? And the options are very confident, somewhat confident, or not at all. And 50% right now are saying not at all confident. Is that the feeling you're getting on the street?
I would say there's a bit more optimism in the poll, but that not at all sentiment, I think, reflects to what we've been talking about, the fact that it's Canada's record of procurement and buying things like planes takes a long time. And so, the longer they're disbanded or they're not flying, it's not like a light switch. You can't just You can't just start up an aerobatic team quickly. So you've got to get the planes in. You got to pick which planes you're going to do. What's the formation? How you're going to staff it? When are the planes arriving? And then you've got to form basically a new team. Now, they have the expertise to do that now. But if this takes 6 years, 5 years, 7 years, what does that look like there? Now, these planes will be used regardless as trainers, which the Tudors were as well. They were used as trainers and as the aerobatic team. And that's sort of traditionally what you do with these aerobatic teams. But because the Tudors were so old, they stopped training on them and had to train on others. So these new planes will be trainers and aerobatic planes. And, you know, they say they'll be here quickly or as quickly as possible, and they'll get going again, the Snowbirds, in a few years. Like I say, we'll see.
I want to talk about the planes a little bit because they're interesting. So the Tudor jets that we're all familiar with, the current Snowbirds, are to be replaced, we're hearing out of the announcement, with this prop plane, which at first makes me think, what? That doesn't make sense. Why would we replace a jet with a prop plane? But I guess these things are fancy. They're Swiss-built. Pilatus Aircraft, I believe, is the name of the manufacturer. It's a turboprop plane, but I guess it's got crazy power behind it. They can go up to jet speeds. It'll have a cockpit that looks like an F-35 or something. Like it'll be a fancy jet kind of cockpit and fully digital. And so it's fancier than what I'm thinking when I first think of prop plane.
That's right. And the Snowbirds Alumni Association was pretty blunt about this. It's not their choice. They would have chosen a jet. Australia's aerobatic team uses these, but most G7 nations who have aerobatic teams use jets. And these are, as you say, very, very fast prop planes, slick looking, you know. Once they're all in and they've formed a team, I think it's going to be it'll be Snowbird-like. Like I think, you know, Canada's Armed Forces has a history and a tradition there. So I don't think people will be disappointed necessarily, but they will not be jets, so the maneuvers will be different. And you know, obviously, I would assume they're going to be Snowbird painted, you know, the red, white with the blue, and you know, all of that. So it's just a question of time and what it's going to look like when they finally arrive.
I don't think I mentioned a Siskin 2 is the name of these new prop planes. And one last question for you. Did they answer the question, why not a jet and why this prop plane? Why is this the direction they went?
They didn't answer that.
Okay.
They felt strongly that this was the right plane and that they could bring it in a fairly fast way. The other thing, too, the factor, Ryan, here is there's a shortage all over the armed forces in the Air Force. And so they need pilots, they need technicians. So I would expect that during the gap period, and they in fact said it, like gradually Snowbird people will go to other squadrons and then at some point maybe regather for the aerobatic team when those planes are in. That's the plan anyway from the Air Force.
We're talking to Graham Richardson. He's the Ottawa bureau chief at CTV National News, but we've reached him in Saskatchewan, where he was there for the announcement that the Snowbirds, as we know them, will fly for this last summer. After this, the jets are being retired, the old Tudor jets, and they will eventually be replaced by these Siskin 2 prop planes. Although when exactly that happens, nobody knows. Mid-30s is kind of the timeline, is as close as we've gotten. Anyways, thank you so much for bringing us up to speed on where things are at. Much appreciated.
Thanks to both of you. Have a good day.
All right, we'll take a break. 6:30 News with Lisa coming up next.
From CFAX 1070.
Here's what's happening around the island.
Join Capital Bike for Spring Go By Bike Week, May 30th to June 5th. Register and find celebration stations at gobybikebc.ca. Sign up for the Walk for Alzheimer's Sunday, May 31st at Fisherman's Wharf. More info at walkforalzheimers.ca.
Get more event info at CFAX1070.com.
If it's happening, it's here.
CFAX 1070.
CFAX Victoria.
An iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
It's here.
CFAX 1070.
Good morning, 6:31 on this Wednesday, May 20th. A nice sunny, warm day in store. Lots of text messages at 7:10:10 about the snowbirds. We've been talking about the decision to have a big change, retire the Jets, get some new stuff in eventually. We'll read some of your texts coming up in a moment, but right now let's do the news. And here with the 6:30 report, it's Lisa Best.
Thank you, Ryan, and good morning. Premier David Eby will meet with the Prime Minister today in Vancouver. Eby says he'll talk to Mark Carney about inequities and about rewarding bad behavior.
The message to the Prime Minister is simple. This country cannot work if separatists, premiers, others get all of the attention of the federal government. And those provinces where we're standing squarely behind Canada, where we're fighting for Canada, where we couldn't be more pro-Canadian in the projects we're advancing, where we're left out of the discussion. That's a very straightforward message from me to the Prime Minister, and I'm hopeful he agrees with that.
Should be an interesting meeting. Eby says the BC has projects ready to go with proponents with a need for a federal partner, and he's hoping Mark Carney's on board. The Liberal government has tapped the head of Canada's military, General Jenny Carignan, as a candidate for one of the top roles in NATO.
Carignan is throwing her hat in the ring to become the chair of the NATO Military Committee, the main military advisory role for NATO's top dog, Secretary General Mark Rutte. An election for the senior spot in the alliance is set for September in Denmark for a role that will begin next summer. Carignan has served as chief of the defense staff since summer 2024, a role with no fixed term but typically lasts for 3 years. She will continue to head the Canadian military while the selection process takes place. Kyle Duggan, The Canadian Press, Ottawa.
An Indigenous woman who filed a human rights complaint against Canadian Tire and a security company for a racial profiling incident 6 years ago says she forgives them. Dawn and Richard Wilson filed a discrimination complaint after a 2020 incident at a Canadian Tire store in Coquitlam. Part of the complainant settlement includes company representatives from the retailer and Blackbird Security participating in a traditional washing ceremony. Dawn Wilson says she's grateful for their attendance.
It's a very brave thing to come here and do what you're doing, and I want you to know that we wholeheartedly forgive everything that's been done and are so thankful that you are here in this beautiful way to let this go with us. And I feel lighter, and I hope that you do too.
The washing ceremony was held last night at East Vancouver's Croatian Cultural Centre. Dozens of attendees gathered to witness representatives from both Canadian Tire and Blackbird Security apologize personally to Dawn and Richard Wilson. Canadian activists who were part of that flotilla aimed at breaching Israel's naval blockade of Gaza are describing their harrowing experience. Primary care nurse Louisa Ravalli, one of 2 Canadians detained after last month's attempt, recalled a night navigating pitch-black Mediterranean waters that culminated in a violent interception by Israeli forces off the coast of Crete.
We heard the first shot. Our hands went up like this, and we put our heads down like just out of instinct. But I remember when I had my head down like this, I just looked up slightly, and there were sniper dots right there above our head.
Ravalli spoke with the Canadian Press just days before another interception off the coast of Cyprus. That flotilla organizers led to the detention of 11 Canadians. The World Health Organization officials say they expect the number of confirmed Ebola cases in Central Africa to rise as more suspected cases are detected. As of now, there's nearly 600 cases and at least 179 suspected deaths linked to Ebola. During today's update, WHO Secretary General Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus says that most cases are located in the Democratic Republic of Congo.
WHO assesses the risk of the epidemic as the high at the national and regional levels and low at the global level.
That U.S. doctor who tested positive while working in the Congo is now receiving emergency care in Berlin. The U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention now is imposing travel restrictions meant to keep the illness from entering the U.S. But FIFA is underway next month.
The health crisis comes as Congo prepares for its first World Cup appearance in 52 years. The team and its fans will stay in Houston, where Chancellor Nkaloa is a Congolese organizer.
It's an opportunity for us to show our culture, to show our strength, and also to show people where we came from.
Congo is to face Portugal in World Cup play in Houston on June 17th. Jim Ryan, ABC News, Dallas.
That's your CFAX News at 6:36. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question this morning. We're asking you, how confident are you that the snowbirds will return to Canada's skies in the early 2030s? That is the roundabout sort of kind of date given. 17% are very confident, somewhat 33%, and 50% say not at all. You can vote at CFAX1070.com, also on the iHeartRadio app. And Lisa, best your news time is 6:37.
Thanks, Lisa, and good morning. Lots of you weighing in on the snowbirds this morning at 7:10. We'll get to some more of those responses in just a moment. But first, let's talk about the sports. Because we've got lots going on. The Vancouver Canucks have fired head coach Adam Foote and 3 of his assistants after their single season on the job. Newly minted general manager Ryan Johnson says the move is about the team's rebuild and not about Foote's performance.
Just wanted a new voice and a new group to come in and start this next era of the franchise, and was less about what they did or didn't do.
The Canucks finished last season at the bottom of the NHL standings with a 25-49-8 record. Last night in the NHL, Colorado, or I should say tonight in the NHL, that's the one I'm looking for. Colorado Avalanche and the Vegas Golden Knights open their Western Conference final tonight. The Golden Knights eliminated Utah and Anaheim in back-to-back 6-game series. So they've had a bit of a repeating pattern. We'll see if it plays out again tonight. And the Vegas Golden Knights, by the way, they have appealed their punishment for breaking media access rules, but they've had that appeal denied now by the NHL. That's according to 2 sources who spoke to the Associated Press yesterday. They got docked a second-round draft pick after coach John Tortorella refused to speak to reporters, and the team did not open its locker room following its second-round series-clinching victory last week in Anaheim, and Tortorella himself fined $100,000 US. So, yeah, they will not get a reprieve from that. Over to the PWHL, the Montreal Victoire are aiming to hoist the Walter Cup tonight when they visit the Ottawa Charge for the 4th game of this best-of-5 Professional Women's Hockey League Championship Series. The Victoire in the lead 2-1 now after suffering a 2-1 setback on Monday in the nation's capital. All 3 of these games have been decided by just a single point. The New York Knicks rallied to beat the visiting Cleveland Cavaliers 115-104 in overtime yesterday in the opener of the NBA's best-of-7 Eastern Conference Finals. Game 2 is on Thursday, so tomorrow in New York. And there you go. That's your sports to 640. CFAX 1070 traffic and weather. It is 6:41 here on a Wednesday morning, and the outlook for the weather is looking good. Mainly sunny, maybe a bit of fog, depending on where you are this morning. Nothing here in the core area, but could be some fog for some parts of the South Island here. But yeah, getting into sunshine, highs of 20, a little cooler by the water. A few clouds maybe tonight, lows to 10. Mix of sun and cloud for tomorrow, highs of 20. Again, cooler by the water. And then just repeat that forecast right through until and including Saturday. So sunshine for the most part, a few clouds here and there, highs around 20. That's just what we're in now until Saturday. Sunday is the change day. The clouds roll in. A chance of showers could be coming too. That could last into early next week. But that's long-range forecast stuff. We'll get there when we get there. And for the markets, we're just getting the opening bells ringing for North American stock markets, so I can tell you how things closed yesterday. S&P TSX down 92 points at the end of yesterday to 33,741. The Dow was down 322 to 49,363. NASDAQ down 220 to 25,870. Canadian dollar at 72.7 cents U.S. That was at the close yesterday.
Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070. Oversleepers, catch all the highlights on the latest audio podcast at CFAX1070.com and on the free iHeartRadio app.
Well, thank you for texting us and joining the conversation at 7:10:10. As this morning we've been talking about the snowbirds ending in their current capacity, their current formation, their current jets, all of that stuff after this final season, and then getting replaced eventually by these prop planes. We were talking about that with our reporter Graham Richardson, who's in Saskatchewan, following the story where the announcement was made yesterday. And Lisa, we've got all these people weighing in here. Mm-hmm. So let's get to that. This texter at 7:10:10 says, good morning, Ryan and Lisa. We all hate change.
Well,
I think
when
that's
it's
part
our
of it.
nostalgia. You know, this is steeped in Canadiana, and so that's what hurts more. You know, the snowbirds on a swan song, we saw it coming. If the jets weren't replaced, I mean, things age out, metal deteriorates, and it's tough. And we've got them overhead Victoria on Tuesday, August 4th, and I will be one of many watching, because it's massive nostalgia for us.
Yeah, and actually that helps answer a question from this text. Are you guys able to clarify? I heard that they're performing in August in Abbotsford. Well, yes, but also Victoria, heads up.
There's a huge tour. Well, yeah, big enough anyways.
But then I also heard they're grounding the planes until the new ones arrive. Are they still airborne? And if so, for how long? Yeah, so that's they're grounding them after this season. So they'll still play out this full
They're giving you one
season.
more year to see them,
yeah.
Basically, yeah. And it starts, I've got the list here, May 24th, so this weekend, right? Today's the 20th. Start in Montreal, and then they've got a number of Ontario dates in Quebec, and actually dipping into the States in June. July, it's Ottawa, New York, Saskatchewan, Alberta. August, they come more our way. A number of BC dates, including us on the 4th, Abbotsford the 7th through 9th, White Rock on the 12th. A couple dates in New Brunswick. Then September, Toronto, Ontario, different Kapuskasing, for example, Gatineau, late September, and then October. 2 dates in California, and they finish in Sacramento, California, October 10th and 11th. So we will see them overhead August 4th, which is traditionally our long weekend, of course. Very busy in town, lots of tourists. And it was just last July, late July, that we had them overhead here, too.
Yeah, I remember watching that.
Beautiful.
One other possible extra little date I noticed.
Yes.
This won't be a full performance like that August 4th date, which will be, you can go down to the Dallas Road waterfront and they'll be performing all of their stuff in full. But on August, that was August 4th, right?
Correct.
I said that?
That's right.
On August 8th.
Yes.
They're going to be doing that David Foster Foundation 40th anniversary Inner Harbor concert.
Oh, I was wondering about that.
And apparently they are supposed to fly past that too.
Okay, because they'll be in Abbotsford. Okay,
Yeah.
So the 7th to the 9th. So
yeah, so
just
while they're
tuck
over in
across the
Abbotsford,
pond, yeah,
take a quick little dip over, fly over the David Foster Inner Harbor stuff, and then go back.
David's got pull.
Yeah.
I like that.
I think
I was wondering because I thought
he wrote a song for them, didn't he?
Oh, maybe.
I think he did.
Well, that helps, doesn't it?
Yeah.
When you're the muse, you can't not show up for the concert.
Yeah.
Wow. So that'll be amazing, having them overhead for the harbor show, because they're going to be on the barge, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
There's an inside show and an outside show, and the outside public show. Wow. Okay, that's with the price of admission. And the price of admission for that one is free. So we're doing okay.
And then for just one more text for now. I've got a bunch, though. We'll get to more of these coming up, so don't worry. Thank you for texting us, and we will get to yours. But this texter says, this is Norm in Courtney. I say we should think about a new nickname for the snowbirds. I'm thinking the No-Birds. That's pretty good.
It's almost dad department.
It was like classic dad joke right there, and I'm here for it, Norm. Thank you so much for texting. I'm chuckling to myself.
Well played.
I'm chuckling. Lisa's just got this, I guess.
It is funny. And it's timely, too. And I hope you're wrong. I hope you're wrong.
At least temporarily, the No-Birds. Anyways,
Exactly.
6:47, what's going on in the rest of the news?
Vic PD are looking for a 35-year-old man who is now the subject of a Canada-wide warrant. Police say Joel Reed left a Pearl Community residential facility here in Victoria early yesterday morning without authorization. Investigators say he's currently serving a federal sentence for a number of charges, including extortion, break and enter, theft under $5,000, possession of a gun and weapon. Make that ammunition. A photo of Joel's posted on our CFAX website. Investigators say Reed may be driving a gray four-door 2005 Audi A8 sedan. Police are warning to not approach. If you see someone who matches his description, call 911 immediately. Environment Minister Julie DeBruson says Ottawa did not push the carbon price backstop in Alberta in a show of solidarity. DeBruson says cooperation makes Canada stronger than fighting with the provinces and being tied up in courts. Ottawa allows provinces and territories to create their own carbon pricing systems, but if those programs don't meet the federal standard, Ottawa can impose a federal backstop instead. Back and forth, of course, continuing today. Premier David Eby will be meeting with Mark Carney about the changes and, of course, the potential pipeline from Alberta to BC's coast. And Jell-O. Do you like Jell-O? Are you a fan of Jell-O?
I haven't had Jell-O in years.
It's a kid thing, or it's a 60s thing with those Jell-O. Here's your Jell-O, shaky Jell-O thing.
The last time I had Jell-O was probably as somebody in his early 20s, and, people do the Jell-O shots with the vodka. It's probably the last time I had Jell-O.
Thought of that. That's good, too. I did to make those molds in the 60s. And shaky dessert. Anyways, they're getting out of the synthetic colors and artificial sweeteners.
What?
Due to
Isn't that all there is? I didn't know there was anything else.
No, they're trying to make it healthier so more people eat it, of course. So Kraft Heinz says they're unveiling something called Jell-O Simply. It's a line of pre-made gelatin made with fruit and vegetable juice, has 25% less sugar than the regular Jell-O, which a lot of us just grew up on that sugar. The range comes in 3 flavors: orange, raspberry, lemonade, and blueberry. Kraft Heinz plans to expand Jell-O Simply in August to include vanilla and chocolate instant pudding and banana and strawberry gelatin mixes, a company pledging last year to remove those artificial dyes from its products by 2027. So change is afoot and hopefully making it healthier if you like Jell-O. That's your news, 2649.
We're going to talk sports coming up next. The Harbor Cats baseball team, they're getting ready to get their season underway, and they're looking for host families for some athletes that are coming this summer season as well. So we're going to reach out to Jim Swanson with the Victoria Harbor Cats coming up next.
From CFAX 1070.
Here's what's happening around the island.
Join Capital Bike for Spring Go By Bike Week, May 30th to June 5th. Register and find celebration stations at gobybikebc.ca. Sign up for the Walk for Alzheimer's Sunday, May 31st at Fisherman's Wharf. More info at walkforalzheimers.ca.
Get more event info at CFAX1070.com.
If it's happening, it's here.
CFAX 1070.
CFAX Morning Show brought to you by Thrifty Foods. Thrifty's has a fresh selection of easy, entertaining party trays available. Order online, by phone, in store, however you want to do it for your next event or family gathering. No crashes, no accidents or problems on the roads. Volume delays are starting to build up from the West Shore into Victoria, as they tend to at this time of the day. We do have on the Trans-Canada Highway a little bit of that giant bus widening project opening. The bit over the Colquitts Bridges, that section there, near Burnside and Tillicum and that sort of zone where they've been doing some of the work. They've got a little bit of it open, one of the bus lanes for the buses. But other than that, it's looking pretty typical out there this morning. No sailing waits at BC ferries, and in the weather, we're settling into just a few days of sunshine with temperatures up to about 20 degrees, a few clouds here and there, but that's really just the next few days. Right now, we are sitting at 8 degrees.
Ryan and Lisa are ready when you are.
Good morning.
Day or night, find the highlights under latest audio at CFAX1070.com and on the free iHeartRadio app.
Yeah, it's that time of year again. It's almost baseball time in Victoria, and the Harbour Cats are looking for host families for the college athletes coming in during the summer season. Jim Swanson from the Harbour Cats, a managing partner, on the line with us right now to talk about it. How you doing there, sir?
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Great to talk to you. Now, let's just set this up real quick. The Harbour Cats season, for starters, that's coming up real fast now, isn't it?
Yeah, we start on the road on May 29th, Friday in Portland, and then come back, have a day off from a 3-game series, and then we open on Tuesday, June 2nd. So 2 weeks from yesterday is our home opener. Trust me, that makes the blood pump a little quicker knowing we only got that much time, and so many things that we have new at the park that we're trying to announce and get completed here in the next 13 days. But yeah, it's close, and then it just goes hard for the whole summer, including the All-Star game that we have this year as well.
Yeah, that's the other thing that's going to be different this year is that big All-Star game. When does that happen again?
That is July 14 and 15, and on the 14th is the Home Run Derby, where we have Kevin Pillar, the former Blue Jays from a couple of years ago, is going to be part of that. He's going to be competing in a Blue Jays uniform on the field with our guys. It's going to be a lot of fun to have that, and everybody knows him as Superman and the guy who stole home runs and hit home runs too, and he was the guy on second base when Jose Bautista hit that famous home run with the bat flip. So, really interesting career. And then on the 15th is the game itself, which will have the best of the West Coast League. In the West Coast League, we put guys in the major leagues. We have 8 guys who've gone from the Harbour Cats to the major leagues, and there were over 60 players in Major League Baseball last year who came through our league. So it's legitimate baseball. It's a lot of fun, and we do a lot of fun things around it with food trucks and activities and stuff in the crowd. It's a lot of fun.
It's going to be a huge summer for baseball here in Victoria, but here's the thing. You kind of need support for all of this, including people to help put up. The baseball players who come in for the summer, they need a place to stay, and you use host families for a lot of this. Talk about that that program and how it works and what you need.
We do, yeah. It's collegiate athletes, and they need pillows to put their heads on. So we have a great group of ladies that run our host family department, and in Cindy and Jennifer and Angie and Helen, the 4 of them really work hard at it. And sometimes there's just a little turnover when it comes to the host families. And this year we're around 12 beds that we're still needing for our guys coming in, which, given that we're 12 days away, we've got guys coming in as early as the beginning of next week, and so we're looking to find a few more spare bedrooms of people that would like to have the experience of having a tremendous young man, college athlete that's focused on being a student athlete and is really moving along in the game. And they're just tremendous young men. The class, the manners, just the way they handle themselves, the dedication they have to what they're doing here. They're not here to party or be crazy guys and being downtown and doing silly things. They're here to focus on baseball, and they love to meet people, and they love to play in Victoria. They love to be in this market and play in front of our fans.
Now, if somebody out there is listening and saying, hey, maybe I could be a host family, what do you look for in a host family? What makes you stand out for that?
So having a room and being willing to get to know somebody and engage. The guys are in town for about 11 weeks, but they're out of town for 4.5 of those weeks when they're here. So they're not underfoot the entire time. Of course, when we go on road trips, they're gone for 3 days, 4 days, maybe 7 days at a time with our road trips. So they get out of town and with the team on the bus and go to whichever city we're going to. But looking for families that are looking for that experience. there's a monetary piece to it. There's season tickets and ticket opportunities and special opportunities to get involved with some behind the scenes things we do with the team that really gives some value added, and it's a lot of fun. Everybody who does it really enjoys it, and that's the one thing we're just looking for a small number, I guess around 12 it is at this moment, people who are willing to take that on and enjoy that and really help to advocate for our community at the same time and be willing to show them around a little bit and be proud of what we have in Victoria, which is certainly not hard to do.
Jim, regarding the host families, I know of a few host families who had young sons or young daughters, sports-oriented, and it was really a benefit for them to have an athlete in the house to say, look, kids, look what you can do.
They're amazing role models that way, playing catch with them in the yard, getting a chance to join the team on the field before and after games because they get to go down and be with their brother. It's what they become as a big brother and really learning that. I'll tell you what, my son went on to 5 years of college baseball, and he's now a college baseball coach and now part of the Harbor Cats coaching staff. And he learned more about baseball and about what the dedication it needed to be a college athlete by being around those players than anything I ever said to him. Well, trust me on that. And that osmosis, that role model piece to it. It's easy to throw around the word role model, but it truly is what happens with these young athletes and being here. Their manners, their appreciation for being here, their appreciation for the big crowds that we get at Wilson's Group Stadium or Royal Athletic Park. It's fantastic for them to pass on to the young ones exactly what that means to them and what they had to do to put themselves in a position to be a scholarship athlete and play at the levels that they're at and have a chance to be a major leaguer. 8 of our guys have gone on to play in the major leagues. The chances of having a player who are going on to the major leagues is actually pretty good when you're a host family with the Harbor Cats.
The Harbor Cats are looking for host families for some of these baseball players this summer, and the season starts in less than 2 weeks. So if you're interested, I'm sure they would like you to reach out real soon. And like you said, there's a bit of financial compensation, some tickets, there's some other stuff as well to help make it worth your while. Thanks so much for letting us know how things are going.
Thank you, guys. We appreciate it very much. Contact the team if anybody's interested.
Right. Okay. We got to make room for the 7 o'clock news, but there you go. We'll be following, of course, the Harbor Cats baseball season as it comes up, and we'll talk more soon. Right now, the 7 o'clock news is next.
CFAX Victoria,
An iHeartRadio station. If it's happening,
it's here.
CFAX 1070.
Good morning. It's 7:01 on Wednesday, May 20th, a sunny day. Highs to eventually hit about 20 degrees. 8 is the temperature right now. We'll get you a full forecast in a moment. Right now, the news begins, and here's Lisa.
BC Premier David Eby says provinces should not have to fight for federal attention while others dominate the conversation. His remarks made ahead of a meeting today with the Prime Minister, Mark Carney, in Vancouver, this following Ottawa's recent agreement with Alberta on pipelines and carbon pricing.
The message of the Prime Minister is simple. This country cannot work if separatist premiers, others get all of the attention of the federal government, and those provinces where we're standing squarely behind Canada, where we're fighting for Canada, where we couldn't be more pro-Canadian in the projects we're advancing.
Eby says he doesn't understand how Ottawa's carbon agreement with Alberta will be implemented across Canada, since national policies need to be negotiated by all premiers. Things got heated in the BC legislature during question period yesterday. Eventually, after a number of stiff warnings, the speaker actually ejected Conservative MLA Claire Rattay. She admitted she was out of line, but she's frustrated, she says, with Premier David Eby.
So while I recognize that my actions might be, construed as being inappropriate, I think that it was warranted given the situation that we're facing. This Premier is getting increasingly desperate. I think that he recognizes what's coming, and it seems like his tactic is quite commonly to attack other people when they don't have the ability to defend themselves.
The issue was around the level of Conservative support for Canada LNG Phase 2. We'll hear more on this, and interim Conservative Party leader Trevor Halford will unpack what happened yesterday. He'll be live on CFAX a few minutes from now at 7:20. There were emergency room closures at some rural hospitals across BC during the Victoria Day long weekend. Health Minister Josie Osborne says the province is now looking at ways to overcome the challenges that rural communities are facing when it comes to health care.
But in the longer term, I am laser focused on stabilizing emergency departments in these small towns, especially where these closures have been happening. It is why we're looking at alternative service delivery models that might involve nurse practitioners, for example, advanced care paramedics, and other ways to fill those gaps. But ultimately, the long-term solution here is a stable workforce.
Josie Osborne says local health authorities often avert potential closures by simply being proactive. Speaking of health, the American missionary doctor who tested positive for the Ebola virus is in a U.S. base in Germany, now receiving treatment. This is in Berlin. And Dr. Peter Stafford was treating patients in the Democratic Republic of Congo. A colleague says he was performing surgery on a person who was suspected of having Ebola. ABC's Faith Abube has the latest.
The Ebola virus can mimic flu-like symptoms and progress to internal bleeding and possible death. The current strain of the virus is suspected to have already killed more than 130 people. The number of suspected cases now around 600, surging at an alarming rate.
And currently there's no treatment for it. And Canada's foreign service cuts are disproportionately affecting positions based abroad over those headquartered in Ottawa.
In total, the data shows more than 340 rotational positions are being cut. More than 10% of the staff cuts at Global Affairs are for posts abroad, a rate 3 times the cut to staff who only work in Canada. Former Ambassador Jeremy Kinsman says the cuts show a foreign service that is too focused on paperwork instead of actually achieving diplomatic goals abroad. He says Prime Minister Mark Carney has drummed up immense interest in Canada right around the world, but Ottawa cannot take full advantage if its embassies are not adequately staffed. Rob Westgate, The Canadian Press.
That's your CFAX News to 7:05. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question this morning. We're asking you about the snowbirds. Do you think they will return to Canada's skies in the early 2030s? 18% say they're very confident, 35% are somewhat, and 47% not at all confident. You can vote now at CFAX1070.com, Twitter X, also the iHeartRadio app. And Lisa, best your news time is 7:07.
Thank you, Lisa. So many folks weighing in at 7:10 about the snowbirds and the decision to retire the Jets after the season and what comes next. We'll get back to your opinion on the snowbirds coming up in just a few moments. But first, let's just get caught up on the sports. And actually, speaking of 7:10, I've had a lot of texts requesting specific sports stories today.
Okay.
So, request number one.
Yes.
Want to hear about the Premier League of Soccer in the UK and what's going on there, because they just kind of wrapped up with Arsenal being the big Premier League winner.
Correct.
They've got the title for the first time since 2004. The London area soccer club clinched when Manchester City drew 1-1 with Bournemouth, and the draw left Arsenal with a 4-point lead at the top. Nobody could beat it. So they've ended their 22-year championship drought.
Wow.
So Arsenal, the big winner in the Premiership. There you go. Request number two. Get some Major League Baseball in there. Yeah, I did miss the Blue Jays score earlier. The New York Yankees defeated the visiting Jays 5-4 yesterday.
We can bypass that one then.
And those two, maybe I just didn't. Maybe
Jays were doing well for a while there.
Yeah.
We lost one. Okay.
Yeah. The American League rivals will play again tomorrow or today. It's today that they are playing again. There you go. That's the requests.
For sports. Then we'll have the regular sports.
Now for the other sports.
Not for your average.
For your average sports, we've tonight got the Colorado Avalanche and the Vegas Golden Knights opening up the Western Conference Final in the NHL. And in the BCHL, the Rogers Cup Final continues. Nanaimo is now down 2-1 against the Brooks Bandits after Brooks nabbed a 2-1 overtime victory last night in Game 3, which was in Nanaimo. Game 4 is tonight. Back in Nanaimo again. And the Montreal Victoire aiming to hoist the Walter Cup tonight if they beat the Ottawa Charge in Game 4 of this best-of-5 Professional Women's Hockey League Championship matchup. They can clinch the whole thing because the Victoire are leading the series 2-1. All 3 games have been decided by 1 goal so far. That's your sports to 7:09. CFAX 1070 Morning Show brought to you by Thrifty Foods. Thrifty Foods is a fresh selection of easy, entertaining party trays available. Order online, by phone, or in store for your next event or family gathering. On the roads, no crashes or accidents to report. We do have paving on Cook Street, either side of Finlayson again today, and also that stretch of Finlayson from Quadra in towards Cook, so that's eastbound, is closed down during the paving as well, so watch out for those delays. They will continue to go for the next few days, and I believe into next week as well. For BC Ferries, no sailing waits right now. 9 o'clock is your next available vessel, and it's about 85% full, so it's getting full, but it's not a sailing wait yet. And in the weather forecast, mainly sunny today. Little wind off the water, highs of 20, cooler by the breezy Juan de Fuca Strait. Tonight, a few clouds, lows to 10, mix of sun and cloud for tomorrow, highs of about 20 again. And in fact, it looks very similar for the next few days, just kind of from today right up until Saturday. It's a mostly sunny stretch with temperatures in about the 20-degree high range and lows down to about 10 degrees. Let's take a look at the markets as we get our first results of the day. Things are up a little bit. S&P TSX in Toronto up 177 to 33,918. The Dow in New York is up 55 to 49,419. The Nasdaq is up 106 to 25,977. Canadian dollar down though, just a fraction of a cent to 72.6 cents US.
Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
Well, after yesterday's big announcement about the snowbirds, lots of listeners texting us to let us know what they think about it. It's the end of the current snowbirds after this season was the announcement. The current jets, which have been in operation since the 60s. We built these Tudor jets in the 1960s. That's the problem here. They're
just aging out.
They're just aging out.
Metal fatigue.
Yeah. So we've got some new ones coming, but they're not going to be ready until the mid-2030s-ish. The questions are around the timeline a little bit. Here's what people are saying at 7:10:10. Texter says, a bit of knowledge here. No jets is a big change and will not be anything like what we have known. Only country in the world yet again. That's interesting, Texter, because maybe you're right, but my understanding is these prop planes, because we're moving towards... the Siskin 2 is the name of it.
Right.
It's a prop plane, which at first I was also like, that's weird. Why would we replace jets with these prop planes? But I gather it's fairly common for a lot of air forces around the world to use these things as a kind of early jet trainer because they can go really fast because they got they're not just a prop plane. They're like an insane prop plane. They've got fancy digital cockpits that look like the fighter jets. They're just more of a trainer. But anyways.
Okay.
Other countries do use them for their trainers, and we actually already in Canada stopped using the Tudor jets for training a while ago, and we do have a different one of these fancy prop plane trainers that we're using for actual training. The Tudor jets for the snowbirds have just carried on, but not for our training aircraft. We've already moved to prop planes for our training aircraft, apparently.
Okay.
I'm learning all kinds of things today.
Yeah.
I didn't know any of that, but that's a good question.
Well, it's nice that change is afoot and things are actually happening. That gives me more hope that we will bring new vessels in or new aircraft in to replace these. I mean, and that we can still use these ones. We don't just retire them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know.
We're not in charge. I figure.
Another, earlier we had a text who said we should have a new nickname.
Yes.
The No-Birds
Correct.
instead of the Snowbirds, since we're not going to have them for a few years. This texter has a different nickname idea. Canada's new flying team, the Snow Props. It's kind of like snowdrops, but,
because they have props.
Prop plane.
Actually, that's very, very smart.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, it's very witty.
Very good. This texter says, hi, Ryan and Lisa. Why couldn't the Snowbirds have planned this better so that the new airplanes would have all been ready to go and they could have just transitioned to them without any long, multi-year time when nothing is flying? That really is the question, texter, and I wish I had an answer for you.
Always seems to be the question, though, isn't it?
We were talking to a reporter with CTV, Graham Richardson, who was there in Moose Jaw for this announcement yesterday, and he kind of brought up the fact that successive governments, going all the way back to like Stephen Harper and then through Justin Trudeau and now Mark Carney, successive governments just haven't acted on the fact that these snowbird jets, the Tudor jets, were so old and needed to be replaced. We just kind of kept kicking the can down the road, and here we are.
Yeah, it was put on the back burner because they didn't want to deal with it. It's not unlike Rideau Hall.
Yeah.
Or any upgrades that have to happen to...
It's the Canadian way.
24 Sussex. I mean,
it's the Canadian way.
They just don't want to spend the money because it looks bad spending the money. But spending the money on the snowbirds, I don't know. I think most Canadians would be on board. But the optics of spending the money on the snowbirds when the military itself was not getting the funding it needed, for new vessels on the water or in the air, new housing, that's bad optics too. So... as we just heard from the Canadian Armed Forces top general yesterday, we're getting money. We're getting influx of money to do all these things. So hopefully the snowbirds will be part of that.
Well, there you go. We've had a lot of people weighing in on the snowbirds at 7:10:10. Feel free to text us and join the conversation. We're going to change topics, though, coming up and get into BC politics. A bit of a spicy day, Lisa, yesterday.
I heard.
BC legislature getting back into gear, and one of the MLAs was asked to leave the chamber by the speaker. What happened there? We're going to be reaching out to interim Conservative Party leader Trevor Halford. He's joining us next to talk BC politics, including what happened yesterday in that incident. We're going to get into that next. But first, here are the headlines with Lisa.
BC Premier is saying the message he will relay to the Prime Minister today when they meet in Vancouver is that Canada cannot work if, quote, separatist premiers get all the federal government's attention. David Eby's been critical of Ottawa's recent dealings with Alberta, suggesting that Mark Carney is paying way too much attention to a province that is seriously considering separating from Canada. He says with 34 different major projects ready to go, BC needs to see the same level of attention and support that Alberta is getting. The Prime Minister's office did respond last night, saying 1/3 of the projects and transformative strategies referred to the Major Projects Office are in BC. 2 generic versions of Ozempic are starting to arrive in Canadian pharmacies this week, which means patients who use the drug to treat diabetes or weight loss may have other options for a fraction of the cost. Health Canada approving both Dr. Reddy's and Apotex generic semaglutide about 3 weeks ago. Apotex is based in Canada, began shipping products yesterday. India-based Dr. Reddy's says its product has already arrived in select Canadian pharmacies. The spokesperson for Dr. Reddy's did not disclose pricing details except saying that it would be competitive. Ozempic can currently cost about hundreds of dollars every month, but both products are approved by Health Canada for management of diabetes, but some doctors are also prescribing off-label for weight loss. The U.S. president says he's in no hurry when it comes to solving things with Iran. Speaking to reporters this morning, Donald Trump questioned if Iranian leaders have the good of the people in mind. He says there's a lot of anger in that country right now because people are living so poorly. Trump's latest comments come as Iran's Revolutionary Guard is threatening to escalate the war beyond the Middle East if the U.S. and Israel decide to attack again. And yes, the Strait of Hormuz remains closed. And a heat wave slamming parts of the eastern U.S., according to meteorologists. Nearly 75 million people stretching from the southern plains in the northeast are dealing with sweltering conditions. Temperatures are expected to climb again into the 80s and 90s Fahrenheit and are continuing through today. They've had this for almost a week now. And that's your news to 7:18.
All right, BC Politics with BC Conservative Interim Party Leader Trevor Halford. That's coming up next, right after traffic and weather. CFAX at 70 traffic and weather. See a problem out there? Text me at 71010. Right now, it seems to be fairly problem-free on the morning commute, apart from the usual things, like we got that paving again on Cook Street, either side of Finlayson. Watch out for delays there. It's still open, just slow. The West Shore commute has sort of built up, and we did along the West Shore commute, by the way, if you're going down the Trans-Canada Highway, they got a little bit of that bus lane project finished. Not the whole thing. It's still going to be a construction zone along a lot of the Trans-Canada Highway right through until next year, but the little bit around the Colquitt's Creek, Colquitt's Bridges, that section, they opened up a bit of the bus lane, so you might notice that on your commute this morning. No sailing waits at BC Ferries, and in the weather, mainly sunny today, highs up to 20 degrees, a bit cooler by the water.
The best way to start an island morning. Ryan and Lisa on CFAX 1070.
Well, here's how things sounded in the legislature yesterday after a bit of a shouting match, warnings from the speaker. This is how it all went down.
Member for Skinner, that's enough. No. Member, no argument with the chair.
No, that's misleading. You can kick me out.
Member is asked to leave the chamber now. Please.
And that member ejected was MLA Claire Rattay with the BC Conservatives. So what led to all of this excitement in the BC legislature yesterday? Here to talk BC politics with us is the interim Conservative Party leader, Trevor Halford, joining us on the line. Sir, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
So you got back to it yesterday and things got fairly heated. What was going on in the legislature yesterday?
Yeah, it escalated pretty quick. A lot. I think that, we as the Conservative Party of BC, we go into that legislature every day fighting for all British Columbians. And I think, with all due respect to the Premier of the province, he's in a bit of a desperate time right now with his polling numbers, with his relationships inside of his own party and outside, whether it's with the Premier of Alberta or the Prime Minister. And he gets desperate. And that's what you see from him yesterday. And, we've got an MLA in Claire Rattay, who is probably, I would say, one of the best people that we have in that building. The history that Claire has, her lived experience, she's just an overall great person, great leader. But she has been, what led to that yesterday was Claire represents the riding of Skeena, which encompasses Kitimat and Terrace. And obviously with Kitimat, that's where LNG Canada is. And Claire, before she came into elected office at the provincial level, she served as a councillor. And she was, and I can tell you because I worked on the project myself, she was a massive proponent of LNG Canada. And what the Premier did yesterday is he somehow wanted people to believe that we were never supportive of LNG Canada. And Claire took that personally, and I don't blame her for that. And so she was asked to leave the chamber. She did. She then respectfully came back and apologized to the Speaker for testing his authority. But what she did do is she called the point of order and very articulately outlined how the Premier had misled the House and, in fact, lied when it came to LNG Canada. And this is a common pattern with him. You can talk to Selena Robinson. You can talk to other MLAs that the Premier's been offside with, and he tends to do this when he gets desperate.
So the issue again is but LNG Canada and the rollout of LNG Canada, and the government was characterizing the BC Conservatives as being opposed to it. So let's just clarify the opinion of the BC Conservatives on the rollout of LNG Canada.
The opinion of the Conservatives has never changed. We support LNG development. We do. We've always supported this project. We support the expansion of this project. We support other LNG projects. So that has always been the case, and that will always be the case going forward.
Okay, so that's that issue that got things so heated. But it did seem like, you just returned to the legislature yesterday, and emotions on all sides were quite high. Like things are tense there right now, it seems. Or was that just is that an incorrect assessment, or are things tense in there?
No, they're tense, and I'll give you our perspective. Listen, is that. And there's an element of, drama to it, but also, too, is that, we have the most people ever that are using the food banks right now. So if you think about some of our ridings, whether they're Quesnel or Williams Lake, and you've got a forestry worker that's been laid off that for the first time ever is having to go to the food bank to provide for his family. That's a pretty sobering stat. That's happening every day in our province, the most that's ever happened. You look at our seniors right now and the struggles they're having. So when we come into that building, we're emotional. We're fired up. We're ready to go. And we've got a government that is not focused on the right things, in our opinion. And I think that's the public's opinion, too. So, things are going to get very heated. And to be honest, I'm not going to apologize for that.
One of the things we're following as well in BC politics is today the Premier and the Prime Minister will be meeting. And, of course, this new agreement between Ottawa and Alberta to advance a West Coast pipeline is one of the big topics. And David Eby has said, now a couple of times he sort of doubled down on it yesterday. He mentioned it on Friday as well after this announcement first got made between Ottawa and Alberta, kind of characterizing it, and I'm paraphrasing here, just saying you've got this province in Alberta with a premier that's entertaining separatists, that's getting all of this federal attention, and he's sort of chiding the federal government for stop, giving them so much attention what they need when they're being such a problem. Shouldn't you be giving us, the rest of us provinces that are being good, federal partners here, shouldn't we be getting some sort of benefit? I'm deeply paraphrasing here, but that seemed to be the sentiment.
Yeah.
What do you make of?
You're pretty correct.
Okay.
I make that he's desperate. Listen, this is obviously the Premier of the province of BC does not have a strong relationship with the Prime Minister, which is to our disadvantage. He does not have a strong relationship with the Premier of Alberta, which is to our disadvantage. And I think that he's been left at the kids' table while the grown-ups have a conversation about pipeline infrastructure, which is highly problematic to us. Listen, this is a Premier that spent tens of millions of taxpayers' money losing in court when it came to the Trans Mountain pipeline expansion. He opposed LNG Canada. He opposed Site C. So he's opposing this now. I think this project's going to get done, whether he likes it or not. And for me, I actually do believe, and we're transparent about this again, we support a pipeline project. We think that we need it. We can obviously see where the world is going right now, that we need more of our own infrastructure, and it's disappointing that the Premier of the province is again obstructing our natural resource sector.
We're talking to Trevor Halford. He's the interim Conservative Party leader here in BC. And we got to go, but I guess I'll just mention this. This is maybe the last time you and I will speak with that role, with you as the interim party leader, because by the end of the month, we're going to have the leadership contest with the BC Conservatives all done and dusted, and a new leader will be anointed. So I guess, are you excited for that? Are you sad about that? How are you feeling?
No. I'm pretty excited. It's been great to have this opportunity, but for me, I think we're going to be electing the next Premier of the province on May 30th, and I think the public's excited about that. I'm excited about that, so I'm ready to go.
Well, we'll talk again soon, I'm sure, but maybe with a different hat. That we'll leave it there. Okay. Much appreciated.
I look forward to it, man.
All right.
Okay, thanks.
Well, we got to get the 7:30 news in here, but much more to come on the show with more BC politics. We're also talking about the snowbirds. Lots of listeners weighing in on the snowbird decision yesterday, so we'll continue those conversations. Also, we haven't played a Black Keys song yet today because it is the summer of rock, and when you hear one, make sure you're texting us rock to 71010 for our summer of rock powered by the Sax Point Pub in Esquimalt. All of that to come.
From CFAX 1070.
Here's what's happening around the island.
Join Capital Bike for Spring Go By Bike Week, May 30th to June 5th. Register and find celebration stations at gobuybikebc.ca. Sign up for the Walk for Alzheimer's Sunday, May 31st at Fisherman's Wharf. More info at walkforalzheimers.ca.
Get more event info at CFAX1070.com.
If it's happening, it's here.
CFAX 1070.
CFAX Victoria.
An iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
It's here.
CFAX 1070.
Hello, good morning. It's 7:31 on Wednesday, May 20th. A sunny day, highs of 20 expected. A little cooler by the water. Get you the full forecast in just a moment. Right now, though, time for the news, and here is Lisa Best.
The news on the snowbirds, of course. What we've been fearing is federal officials made it official yesterday that we'll be watching them for the last time this summer perform, or at least for a few years. And there are plans underway to upgrade the aging jets. But it still leaves the aerobatic team's immediate future looking, well, up in the air. CTV's Graham Richardson has more from Moose Jaw.
The defense minister announcing Canada will replace the aging jets with the new Siskin 2 prop planes. And it's not clear when Canada will take delivery of them.
It will take some time for them to roll off the production line. But we're moving as quickly as we possibly can.
It's not clear how long all of this will take.
I inherited a situation where the planes literally had come to the end of their lives. They were unique in many respects. They didn't have the parts and other things to safely fly.
Several years ago, the government invested $30 million to upgrade all the cockpits, and they're not finished yet.
We do know Victorians will get a chance to see the snowbirds perform overhead. That will happen Tuesday, August 4th, a part of their tour across Canada into parts of the U.S. as well. Premier David Eby is not backing down from comments made last week about awarding bad behavior after the next step towards a second Alberta pipeline to the BC coast. He says he'll deliver this message to the Prime Minister when he meets with him in Vancouver today.
The message I have for the Prime Minister is a pretty straightforward one. British Columbia backs Canada, and we need Ottawa to back British Columbia. We have $88 billion in projects, 34 different major projects, 40% of the projects at the Major Projects Office, real projects with proponents and routes and ready to go. And we have the British Columbians who are getting trained to be able to take the jobs these projects create through $250 million in new funding. We just need to see that same level of support that Alberta has seen from the Prime Minister right here in British Columbia.
Eby says the NDP government has also been talking to BC federal Liberal MPs about the situation. Discussions about major projects during question period yesterday turned into a shouting match. After a couple of stern warnings, the Speaker ended up ejecting Skeena Conservative MLA Claire Rattay. Rattay explained why.
For me personally, this is a hill that I am willing to die on. I am fine with being kicked out of the chamber if it means that I'm speaking the truth. What the Premier did today was essentially disparage our entire caucus and claim that we were not supportive of LNG Canada. He made numerous comments about, where were they? Why weren't they supportive of this announcement? I mean, the reality is that the Leader of the Opposition and I were there touring LNG Canada when this announcement was being made. So it was just incredibly inaccurate.
Claire can be seen off camera on her way out of the session, still yelling and pointing a finger at the Premier. And believe it or not, ageless pop culture legend Cher turns 80 today. She was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame 2 years ago. Backstage that night, Cher says she didn't have any sort of perspective about her life and career because she was just trying to live through all the ups and downs throughout it.
It was like thinking about it from minute to minute or thing to thing or bad to good, or, I was like, I always thought of myself as like a bumper car, and when I hit a road, I would just back up and turn in a different direction because I wasn't going to just stop doing what I love.
It's a pretty apt analogy. One of her biggest hits, Believe, reached #1 and also introduced the world of music to auto-tune. That's your news to 7:35. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question we're asking, how confident are you that the snowbirds will return to Canada's skies by the early 2030s? 18% say they're very confident, 35% say somewhat, 47% not at all. You can vote at CFAX1070.com, also on the iHeartRadio app. And Lisa, best your news time is 7:37.
Thank you, Lisa, and good morning, everybody. Let's get to the weather forecast real quick. Sunshine, highs of 20, and then that's going to happen again tomorrow.
Nice.
And then the next day. And then the next day. It's kind of
keep going,
settling into this nice stable patch before the clouds and rain return maybe on Sunday. Full details coming up. Right now over to CFAX 1070 Sports. Vancouver Canucks firing the head coach, Adam Foote, as well as 3 of his assistants after a single season on the job. That news coming down yesterday. New general manager of the Canucks, Ryan Johnson, says he has a few traits he's looking for in a new bench boss.
Consistency, patience, the ability to connect with a young group and realize that we can't blanket players, that they each have their own path, their own journeys that you got to be attentive to. So those are just some obviously key components out of the gate that I always look for in a coach, regardless of where the state of the team is at.
Foote served just one season as Vancouver's head coach. He was elevated as from an assistant after Rick Tocchet left the organization last May. In the NHL tonight, Western Conference Final opens in Denver with the Colorado Avalanche hosting the Vegas Golden Knights. So that's coming up on the ice, and it's also unclear whether the Colorado Avalanche will have defenseman Cale Makar when they open up the final versus the Golden Knights. He didn't practice yesterday, missing a third on-ice session since Colorado advanced to the conference final. We've also got the Montreal Victoire able, if they win, to clinch the Walter Cup when they visit the Ottawa Charge tonight. Montreal holding the best-of-5 Professional Women's Hockey League Championship Series, holding the lead in the series 2-1. So that's coming up tonight. Let's talk about basketball. Defending champion Oklahoma City Thunder look to tie the NBA's Western Conference Final Series when they host the San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs won Monday's opener in overtime, and Canadian Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the league's MVP for a second straight year, had 24 points for the Thunder. Let's go back to hockey for a quick second because I got a local one for you. Rogers BCHL Cup finals continue. Nanaimo now down 2-1 against the Brooks Bandits after Brooks nabbed a 2-1 overtime win last night in Game 3. Game 4 will be tonight, also in Nanaimo. And in soccer, Arsenal has won the Premier League title for the first time since 2004. The London Soccer Club clinched when Manchester City drew 1-1 with Bournemouth yesterday, and the draw left Arsenal with a lead that can't be touched. It's the first time they have done that in 22 years. And the New York Yankees defeated the visiting Blue Jays 5-4. The American League rivals play again today. CFAX Morning Show brought to you by Coastal Heat Pumps. For a comfortable home no matter the season, big savings on your heating bill. Talk to Coastal Heat Pumps. Designed for comfort, the South Island's Elite Plus Fujitsu Air Stage dealer. On the roads, let us know if you see a problem, crash, accident, anything else like that at 71010. You can text us there. Right now, it's just fairly typical volume delays out of the West Shore. We got the paving back on Cook Street on either side of Finlayson. Also, Finlayson closed from Quadra to Cook eastbound. So you can't approach the paving work on Finlayson either. But otherwise, yeah, looking pretty typical out there. We've got no sailing waits at BC Ferries. 9 o'clock sailing still has vehicle deck space left. And the weather, it's mainly sunny today. Little wind off the Wandafuka Strait, making it feel a little cooler. So a high of 20, cooler by the water. A few clouds tonight, lows to 10, and then a mix of sun and cloud tomorrow. Again, highs of 20. Friday, sunshine, highs of 20. Saturday, sunshine, highs of 20. Just kind of continues like that. Sunday's the pivot. We start to cloud over and maybe get to a chance of showers at some point Sunday or Monday. Right now, it is at the Victoria International Airport, 11 degrees. That's our official Victoria temperature. But downtown, it is already 12 degrees. On the markets, S&P TSX up 229 points this hour to 33,970. The Dow in New York is up 170 to 49,534. The NASDAQ is up 209 to 26,080. Canadian dollar is at 72.7 cents U.S., which is down just a touch from the close yesterday.
Let's get started.
Start your day informed and entertained. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
I think that sounds like a Black Keys song.
Sure does.
There's a dead giveaway, though. I just said the name.
Oh, we're making it easy. It's early.
Yeah, exactly. This is, of course, the Summer of Rock on CFAX. That's the sound of the Black Keys. It's just one of the many bands as part of CFAX's Summer of Rock. It's this week's band. If you text the word rock to us anytime you hear one of those songs, you'll be entered into the draw for tickets to their show in Vancouver, but also the accommodations from the Rosedale on Robson Street. We've got the flight from Helijet.
That's cool.
And it's all powered by the Sax Point Pub in Esquimalt. So that is all you got to do. Text us rock, and we will be making that draw for the concert and all of that a little later. And then after we finish with the Black Keys, we've got AC/DC coming. We've got Motley Crue coming.
Yeah, this isn't one and done.
Guns N' Roses are coming.
We've got a full month of
this. It's a full summer of rock. It's the whole season.
Nice.
Anyways, there you go.
That's fantastic.
The Black Keys.
Right?
We won't always just tell it to you on the nose. So sometimes you're going to have to just know the song. But we're being nice today.
Well, hey, that works, right? Because, the more people enter, the more chance you have to win.
It's 7:45. What's happening in the news, Lisa?
The federal government is proposing about $164 million in funding for enhanced whale protection off our coast. The update calls for funding to go towards working with BC Ferries to adopt new tech to reduce underwater vessel noise by up to 50%. It would also go toward enforcing existing whale protection rules and vessel speed restrictions. Of course, earlier this month, we all know about that jet ski hitting a gray whale off Vancouver at a high speed, seriously injuring the watercraft rider and also injuring the whale. BC Premier David Eby says bad behavior cannot decide who gets attention of the federal government. Eby plans to meet with the Prime Minister today and tell him that Canada cannot work for what he calls separatist premiers who are getting all of Ottawa's focus. He says major projects being advanced in BC are being left out of the discussion, despite being pro-Canadian. A spokesperson for the PMO, the Prime Minister's office, says 1/3 of projects and strategies referred to the major projects office are here in BC. A new research shows adults with better heart health had lower odds of dying or becoming very ill after contracting coronavirus during the pandemic. A new American Heart Association study showed adults with no cardiovascular disease had the best heart health levels. Nearly half were likely to develop severe COVID-19 when compared with adults with the worst health levels. The study's lead author says the findings suggest that having a healthy heart helps your body deal with the stress of a viral infection like COVID. Researchers looked at the heart health of nearly 30,000 people for this study. And that is your news to 746.
Coming up next, we are going to reach out to BC's Information and Privacy Commissioner. He recently wrote an opinion piece which shared a kind of very personal story about his experience or his family's experience with kind of online social media stuff and the new sort of ways we have with interacting with the world online and some of the problems because of it. And he asks whether or not we need a new social contract for the information age based on these experiences. So Michael Harvey is going to be joining us in just a few moments to explain his experience and what he's calling for. That's coming up after traffic and weather. Let me know if you see any problems out there. 71010. Text me if you got a crash or accident or something else causing you a problem on the commute.
Developing political story, a big doozy.
Vashi Capellos.
What started as a dull day is anything but.
The top newsmakers.
Your go-to political debrief. Daily.
What is really going on?
The breaking news.
Just moments ago.
And the entertaining analysis and debate to follow.
I don't think you can sugarcoat it. It's an issue.
It's not true, guys. Yeah.
Vashi Capellos.
There is a greater plan here.
Vashi Capellos. Weekdays 9 a.m. to 11.
Bigger picture politically, which is
on CFAX 1070.
CFAX 1070 traffic and weather. It's been a fairly typical day on the roads as far as West Shore commute volume is concerned. But point of interest, as you're going down the Trans-Canada Highway, they did get a bit of those bus lanes they've been working on opened up by the Colquitts Bridges. That's sort of right around Burnside Road and Tillicum, that sort of area of the Trans-Canada Highway. They got a bit of those bus lanes open. That's the whole point of this giant construction project we've been living through and will continue to live through for another year or so. They're widening the highway for those bus lanes, and they got a little bit of those open now. That just got announced yesterday. Now, for the BC ferries, no sailing waits right now. For the weather, it's a sunny day with highs up to 20 degrees, a little cooler by the water, increasing clouds overnight and lows down to 10.
It's all here. News, weather, traffic, and community events. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
BC's Privacy and Information Commissioner says we need a new social contract for the information age. And he's making that pitch in a column he penned for a local newspaper, for the Vancouver Sun, after his office found some issues. And he also had some personal experiences to share leading him to all of this. So Michael Harvey, BC's Privacy and Information Commissioner, joining us on the line right now. Sir, hello, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on.
Great to get you here. Fascinating column that you wrote in the Vancouver Sun. And you had a really personal story to tell leading you down this path. And I thought maybe that's the place to start. What did you experience with, is it your daughter?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I've got a couple kids. They're older teenagers now, 18 and 19. But, like many families around this province, we've been sitting and talking with our kids around the dinner table as they've been growing up about their experiences. And I say their experiences online, but one of the things I like to talk about is how when we talk about our kids online, I think that's a very Gen X or millennial way of conceiving this idea that we live in an offline world and then we go into an online world. Our kids live online all the time. So when I talk about their experiences online, really what we're talking about is their experiences. And one of those experiences that I talked about with my daughter in a belated way was this experience that she had as what I call in my column, a lapsed social media influencer. And so, Ryan, what we found this out kind of after the fact, is that my daughter had built this following on this platform. And I'm going to be a bit vague in the details because my daughter, she consented to me sharing the story with the world, but she wanted me to be a little coy on some of the details. But she crafted this platform, this following, and it ended up with tens of thousands of followers. And it was a film criticism, a specific genre of film criticism that she was interested in. And she built it anonymously, so none of her friends knew about it. None of her family knew about it. The only person who even knew about it, but wasn't even allowed to see it, was her older brother. So she built this, and this is not unusual at all. She wasn't hiding it from us per se, but she just wanted it to be her thing. She wanted it to be private. She was a little concerned about being teased about it, and so she just wanted it to be her thing. And this, I think, is normal activity for teenagers as they find their identity, as they discover who they are, as they find their people. This is normal behavior online. It was all perfectly fine. But what was really interesting to me was that she really wanted it to be her own anonymous thing. So this resonated with me as I do my work. So as a privacy commissioner, a number of months ago now, we released a major report into the platform TikTok. And what we found about our TikTok investigation was that TikTok was gathering enormous amounts of information about its users. We were particularly concerned about kids, but they were doing it about adults too. And we found that they were gathering way more information than was reasonable or that people could be thought to have reasonably consented to. And so the punchline for our story is that Isabel, my daughter, thought that she was anonymous from everybody in doing this. But the one set of people that she wasn't anonymous from was the platform that she was participating in. That platform was collecting information about. They knew exactly who she was. They knew who. I expected they knew who I was. They would have known where she was, things about her. They would have created a profile and done things like estimating her household income and purchasing power, what she was interested in buying. And they were using that information to send information back to her and manipulate her behavior and shape and predict her future behavior. And that's really what these platforms are doing. And that is what I think it was the essence of my column, that this I don't think is something that people feel is right in our society. And now is a moment when I think we really need to do something about it. So yeah, that's the story I wanted to share.
Yeah, and it's not like there was a giant privacy breach or something horrible happened, but just that revelation that, you think you are just doing this thing for you, but really, the way they put it, I've heard it this way: like if you're not paying a fee for these platforms, you are the product, you are the thing that's getting harvested here by these platforms or advertised to, and it's that you kind of come to realize. And is that, should we just let that happen, I guess, is the question.
Yeah, exactly. And so, you hear these people say that kind of stuff that you're saying, and then they say it with a sense of, well, I guess that's just the way the world is. And I guess there's nothing we can do about it. And people will say things like, oh, well, I guess, privacy is dead and that's just the way the world is. But no one ever says that like they're happy about it. But I'm here to say there is something we can do about this. We can change things, and we know that there are things that we can do about it. And so the second investigation that I was involved in that I think really speaks to this is one that we released. I did it with my federal counterparts and with my counterparts in Alberta and Quebec, and it went on for years, and it was into OpenAI, which operates ChatGPT. And ChatGPT, the way that they trained the original models for ChatGPT a couple of years ago is they sent bots out and they they scooped up all of the information that was out there on the internet, in the open net, and they use that to train their models. And that's essentially was the focus of our investigation. And we found that was unreasonable for them to do that. That was not consistent with BC laws. Now, over the course of this multi-year investigation, ChatGPT or OpenAI and operating ChatGPT made a lot of improvements in the privacy protectiveness, but we also found that our laws just are not appropriate. They're not properly constructed to deal with the way that the internet works now. And so when we released that investigation, I sent one letter to the BC government, and I called for reform in how our privacy laws are written. Now, this is a reform I don't expect to be done overnight. We're going to have to do real engagement, but this is what I'm talking about when I called for a new social contract. The foundation for that in BC needs to be a privacy law developed after robust engagement of society, and it needs to be one that reflects our values. I know that we can do this, that there are models that we can use to really provide a better foundation for how we live our lives in this new digital age.
I've only got a few seconds left, but I guess one of the things that my mind always goes to first when I hear about these kind of aspirations to better protect ourselves and have I like the way you put it, a better social contract between us, the users, and all of these digital platforms. But I always come back to how can you as a province, how can something like, the BC government deal with a thing that is so global in its scale?
Yeah. Well, I'll say two things in response to that. The first is we can matter. We are involved at the BC office. We're involved in national discussions, and we're not tiny. We are significant. We're a significant player in a significant country. The world looks to Canada, and the world looks to BC for how we are leading in this area. So let's not sell ourselves short. But the second thing is there are things that our government can do. There are things that our corporations can do, and there are things that we as individuals can do. So when we published that OIPC report, we put a one-page kind of infographic for how you can be more privacy protective online. If people go to our website at oipc.bc.ca, they can see that infographic there. They can also see the opinion piece there that you were talking about, and they can read that for themselves.
Well, there you go. BC's Information and Privacy Commissioner Michael Harvey. Thank you so much for sharing that story here and sharing your call for something different. I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
Thanks for having me on, Ron. Take care.
All right. That's Michael Harvey, the commissioner. And we will take a break now. 8 o'clock news coming up, but so much more to come. We, of course, have a fired Vancouver Canucks coach. What does that mean for us here in Vancouver Canucks hockey land? We're going to talk about that next hour. Just lots to happen still on the show. There's so much more, including the 8 o'clock news with Lisa. That's next.
CFAX Victoria.
An iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
It's here.
CFAX 1070.
Good morning, 8:01 on this Wednesday, May 20th. We've got sunshine and a high of 20 coming today right now. It is about 12 degrees in Victoria, and we will get to a full forecast in just a moment. Right now, though, the news begins, and here is Lisa Best.
Thank you, Ryan, and good morning. Federal Environment Minister Julie DeBrusen says Ottawa did not enforce the federal backstop on Alberta's industrial carbon price as a gesture of cooperation with the province.
Prime Minister Mark Carney and Alberta Premier Danielle Smith signed an agreement on Friday on industrial carbon pricing, and many climate activists say this deal is weaker than what Ottawa already had in place. But Carney says the deal strengthens the system that was working in Alberta. DeBrusen says fighting the provinces in court is not a path to a cooperative federalism, and since Carney has clawed back most of the Trudeau-era climate policies, DeBrusen suggests the cornerstone of the Liberal government's commitment to reducing emissions has been a strengthened industrial carbon price. The new deal with Alberta likely means other provinces which were using the federal backstop will be able to use the provisions in the Alberta deal. John Kennedy, the Canadian Press.
Today in Vancouver, Premier David Eby will meet and have discussions with the Prime Minister. Eby says he'll speak to Mark Carney about inequities, about what he calls rewarding bad behavior.
The message to the Prime Minister is simple. This country cannot work if separatists, premiers, others get all of the attention of the federal government. And those provinces where we're standing squarely behind Canada, where we're fighting for Canada, where we couldn't be more pro-Canadian in the projects we're advancing, where we're left out of the discussion. That's a very straightforward message from me to the Prime Minister, and I'm hopeful he agrees with that.
Eby says BC has projects ready to go with proponents with a need for a federal partner to get on board. Canada's budget watchdog says this country will spend just over $1 billion to host the World Cup Games this summer.
That includes money from all levels of government, with Ottawa contributing $473 million and the rest coming from provinces and municipalities. The total averages out to $82 million per game for the 13 games that will be played in Toronto and Vancouver. The parliamentary budget officer says the costs are about in line with what previous host countries spent. In April, the federal government said it was allocating up to $145 million for security, on top of previously announced funding. Anya Cuttadeglia, The Canadian Press, Ottawa.
This says the U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention has an eye on FIFA and the athletes coming in, imposing travel restrictions meant to keep Ebola from entering the U.S.
The health crisis comes as Congo prepares for its first World Cup appearance in 52 years. The team and its fans will stay in Houston, where Chancellor Nkaloa is a Congolese organizer.
It's an opportunity for us to show our culture, to show our strength, and also to show people where we came from.
Congo is to face Portugal in World Cup play in Houston on June 17th. Jim Ryan, ABC News, Dallas.
The World Health Organization officials say they expect the number of confirmed Ebola cases in Central Africa to rise as more suspected cases are detected. As of now, there are 600 suspected cases and at least 179 deaths linked to the virus. During today's update, WHO Secretary General Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus says most cases are located in the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
WHO assesses the risk of the epidemic as the high at the national and regional levels and low at the global level.
That U.S. doctor who tested positive for Ebola was working in the Democratic Republic of Congo, doing surgery on a patient suspected of having the virus. He's now receiving emergency care in Berlin. And that's your news to 8:05. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question this morning. We're asking you about the snowbirds as they enter their swan song of summer tours. How confident are you that the Canada's aerobatic team of the skies will return by the early 2030s in a different form? 18% say they're pretty confident, 35% say somewhat, and 47% say not at all. You can vote now at CFAX1070.com, Twitter X, also the iHeartRadio app. And Lisa, best your news time is 8:07.
Thanks, Lisa. We have sunshine today. A few clouds with us this morning, but mostly a sunny day with temperatures getting up to 20 degrees eventually. Right now, though, for the temperatures, if you're in Langford, I'm seeing 12. In Oak Bay at the waterfront, it's 13. CFAX 1070 Sports. So much happening in sports. Locally, BCHL, the finals, the Roger Cup final continues. And we have Nanaimo versus the Brooks Bandits. They just finished Game 3 last night. It was Brooks nabbing the overtime win 2-1 in overtime. So Nanaimo now down 2-1 in the best-of-7 series with Game 4 going tonight back in Nanaimo again. So that's happening in the BCHL Cup finals. On the NHL front, we'll see the Western Conference Final open in Denver with the Colorado Avalanche hosting the Vegas Golden Knights. Also, the Vegas Golden Knights, they had an appeal to have their punishment reduced for breaking media access rules. That appeal has been denied by the league. That's according to two sources who spoke to the Associated Press yesterday. So the team was docked a second-round draft pick after coach John Tortorella refused to speak to reporters, and the team did not open its locker room following its second-round series clinching victory last week at Anaheim. Tortorella also fined $100,000 U.S. And continuing with hockey news, the Montreal Victoire aiming to hoist the Walter Cup tonight when they visit the Ottawa Charge for the fourth game of their best-of-5 professional women's hockey league championship series. The Victoire lead the series 2-1 after suffering a 2-1 setback on Monday in the nation's capital. And one other hockey story quickly. Of course, the Vancouver Canucks yesterday firing coach Adam Foote. What's next for the Canucks as they really move into a full rebuild? Sports guy Steve is going to be joining us in a few minutes to talk about that and some other stuff happening in Canucks land. So there you go. New York Knicks rallied to beat the visiting Cleveland Cavaliers 115-104 in overtime in yesterday's opener of the NBA's best-of-7 Eastern Conference Finals. And in baseball, the New York Yankees defeating the Blue Jays 5-4. They go at it again today. So much sports and more to come with Sports Guy Steve next. CFAX 1070 Morning Show brought to you by Thrifty Foods. Thrifty's has a fresh selection of easy, entertaining party trays available. Order them online, by phone, or in-store for your next event or family gathering. Let's take a look at traffic. It's been a pretty typical day for the roads. No crashes, no accidents. It's usual volume delays from the West Shore into downtown Victoria. Hey, they'll have an open bus lane at the Colwood... I should say the Colquitts Creek Bridges. That's over by Burnside and Tillicum. This is the ongoing project to widen the Trans-Canada Highway for the bus lanes. And that project's going to continue until next year, but they got a little bit more of it open. As of yesterday, they were announcing that. Also, paving work continues on Cook Street at Finlayson. Watch out for delays there. No waits at BC Ferries. And for the weather forecast, we're settling into a nice sort of sunny, warm stretch here. We got sunshine and a high of 20 today. Maybe a few clouds here and there. Same again tomorrow, same again Friday, same again Saturday. just several days of sunshine and 20 degrees. It will be cooler all of those days if you're by the Juan de Fuca Strait. A little breeze here and there and a few clouds here and there. That's kind of the setup for the weather right now. And the temperatures we're seeing, if you are in, let's go to Brentwood Bay, 12 degrees right now. Colwood, it's also 12 degrees. Let's take a look at the markets right now. S&P TSX up 318 points now to 34,059. The Dow is up 331 to 49,695. The NASDAQ is up 278 to 26,149. And we've got the Canadian dollar at 72.7 cents US.
The windup in his first call out, I'm guessing.
It's Sports Guy Steve.
Oh my goodness!
What did you say? You heard me.
Here's Sports Guy Steve. Just a bit outside.
There's so much sports today. I needed help.
Morning commute without us.
Oh, I did need to play that.
Ryan and Lisa.
No, I'm making noises. Making noises I'm not supposed to.
It's like you play for the Canucks or something.
It's time for Sports Guy Steve to help me with all the sports today. Steve, how you doing?
Not too bad. Yourself?
I'm doing all right, but I've got to sort out this Vancouver Canucks news. So Adam Foote, the coach, fired yesterday, as well as a few others in the...
Foote got the boot.
Foote got the... Oh, I see what you did there.
That's Steve.
That's
all Steve.
I could not have done better myself. I'm just proud. That's where I'm sitting right now. So I don't know. I feel like this was obvious. It seems like the entire Canucks operation just needs to be burned to the ground and then rebuilt. And that seems to be what we're seeing. I'm not surprised. But then again, I don't know anything. So I need Sports Guy Steve to come in here and weigh in. So what did we see yesterday and what does it mean?
Well, I don't think this is really a shock. I think a fresh start is in order. I think they did it in a fair way, not like they did with Bruce Boudreau, where they hung him out to dry for, 3 or 4 months before they finally fired him. And it gives Adam Foote a chance to find something else if he wants to continue in the NHL, because he'll get an assistant coach job in a heartbeat, because he's a very good assistant coach. He's just not a very good head coach. It's really that simple. And you've had the worst season, in quite some time. So you were last. And, there's some accountability that needs to deal with that. So I don't think that's a big surprise at all. And I think some of the things that have come out as the season has progressed about the way the dressing room was handled contributed to the fact that they knew they needed a fresh start.
Now, how much of this dismal Vancouver Canucks season that we just saw, with last place in the league, how much of that can you hang on the coach, and how much of it was other factors? I think is a question I want to ask, but I'm just looking at the time. So it's 8:15. Let's get to the headlines. But Sports Guy Steve is sticking around. We're going to be dissecting this Vancouver Canucks move yesterday and talking about some other sports as well. If you got any questions, by the way, if you want to weigh in on your opinions on what we're seeing out of Canucks land, you can text us at 71010. We're going to get back to this in just a moment. But right now, it's the headlines with Lisa.
Thank you. Vic PD asking for tips as this search continues for a 35-year-old man who's the subject of a Canada-wide warrant. Police say Joel Reed left a parole community residential facility early Tuesday morning in Victoria without authorization. Investigators say he's currently serving a federal sentence on a number of charges, including extortion, break and enter, theft under $5,000, and possession of a gun and ammunition. A photo of Joel posted on the CFAX website. Police are saying if you recognize this person on the street, do not approach. Call 911. BC Premier David Eby says bad behavior can't decide who gets the attention of Ottawa. Eby says he's got plans to tell the Prime Minister today in their meeting that Canada cannot work with what he calls separatist premiers to get all of Ottawa's focus. He says major projects are being advanced in BC and they're being left out of the discussion despite being pro-Canadian. A spokesperson from the PMO says 1/3 of projects and strategies referred to the Major Projects Office are actually located in BC. And Environment Minister Julie DeBrussen says Ottawa did not push the carbon price backstop in Alberta in a show of solidarity. DeBrussen says cooperation makes Canada stronger than fighting with the provinces being tied up in courts. Ottawa allows provinces and territories to create their own carbon pricing system. But if those programs don't meet the federal standard, Ottawa can impose the federal backstop instead. And that is your headline news to 8:16.
Foot gets the boot. I'm still thinking about that.
It's very good.
Still thinking about that. Sports guy Steve is here. We're taking a look at the Vancouver Canucks firing their head coach. What's next for them? If you got any thoughts as well, you can join us at 7:10. Back at it right after traffic and weather. CFAX at 70 traffic and weather. West Shore commute's looking pretty typical. We're seeing average delays. If you see otherwise, text me at 71010. But no crashes or accidents, just lots of volume for the BC ferries. No sailing waits. It's about 90% full for the 9. So it's getting close, but there's still some vehicle deck space left. And the weather forecast looking sunny today, highs of 20, bit cooler by the water. Maybe a few clouds here and there. Tonight, a few clouds, lows to 10. And then tomorrow, another mix of sun and cloud, highs of 20, cooler by the water. And then just take that, repeat it. Sun, some cloud, highs around 20. Today, tomorrow, Friday, Saturday. That's just what we're getting for the next few days.
Thanks for starting your day with us. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
And we're in the middle of chatting with sports guy Steve. He's helping us through the Vancouver Canucks moves yesterday with Adam Foote, the coach, getting fired. Maybe no surprise there, but let's talk about it. Steve, thanks again for being here and joining us today.
Always enjoy this conversation.
Me too, and I like it when you help me out understand all the sports. So I was asking right before the break about, Adam Foote getting fired. Again, no surprise. I think everybody understands the entire operation needs to be just torn down to the studs and rebuilt because of the worst season possible that we just saw. But just because we're talking about Adam Foote, how much of this was actually his fault? He had to go regardless, but was this dismal season something we can hang on him, or was there more to it? What do you think about that?
You certainly can't hang it on him. Maybe 5%. Like, it would be that low. Because some of this is injuries, right? You have a world-class goaltender in Thatcher Demko, who I think played less than 10 games, somewhere around there. So that's your 70-game goaltender that isn't there. So of all the things, you could point to, that's still the number one thing in my mind, is that a healthy Demko probably makes them a playoff contender, probably doesn't get them in, but probably that you have your $11 million forward, EP40, who has a dismal season. Like, you have this fracture in the dressing room, and you trade arguably one of the top 4 defensemen in hockey to Minnesota. Like, none of that is the coach's fault. There is some things that are coming out of the dressing room that point to a lack of discipline and those kind of things, but it wouldn't have mattered. This was a debacle from start to finish last year.
Well, thanks for weighing in on that, because I got that feeling too that, like, it didn't seem like his fault. It makes sense that he's got to go, but at the same time, and even it was even talked about yesterday a little bit, because I've got a clip here. This was brand new general manager Ryan Johnson talking yesterday at this announcement, and he kind of mentioned this is about the rebuild, not about Foot.
Just wanted a new voice and a new group to come in and start this next era of the franchise, and it was less about what they did or didn't do.
So there you go. That was the thought there from him as well. Now, what is next though? Like, what are you hoping to see for this Vancouver Canucks? This is where you can give us your often right crystal ball outlook on what's coming. What do you think the Canucks do next?
Well, there's probably what I hope they will do. I'll go with that. I hope they hire Manny Malhotra, former Canuck, friend of the Sedins. Ryan Johnson and him work together in Abbotsford. Abbotsford won the Calder Cup last year, so he's proven he can win. Many of the players that had really good second halves once they made all the trades and got some of the negativity out of the dressing room were players that were developed under Manny Malhotra. And I'm thinking of Carlson and a couple of other guys in particular really flourished once they could feel like they could breathe again. So I believe in winning is established at a lower level and works its way up to the top. And I think because you've got this unique mix of, we can bring the coach in, he's familiar with the players, and he's young. He doesn't have a track record in the NHL, but he's well respected because he was a very good defensive hockey player in particular. And we might end up drafting his son 3rd overall. That's kind of a nice package.
And he, of course, the Abbotsford Canucks AHL coach right now, so he's not far. Yeah.
And he knows the circumstance. He knows the media scrutiny he's going to go under. He knows how upset Canuck fans are about what happened this season. All those intangible things, like, he's going to walk into a situation where he knows exactly what's going on.
And he's who you expect. And I think others as well are speculating that. If you had to bet, do you think that's a done deal, or do you think there's a chance they'll do something else?
I still think there's a chance they do something else, because the ownership group continues to be the same family, and they have not established themselves of knowing what they were doing. And so it could go sideways. They could end up paying for a big-name coach. And, a big-name coach is probably not what this team needs. They probably need a guy that's going to grow with the team over the next 3 to 4 years, because this isn't going to turn around overnight. Like, you're last in the league. It's not going to be, we're going to bounce back next year. That's not going to happen.
Strap in for the long haul, people. That's what we're expecting. Now, 71010 people are weighing in. This texture simply says Vancouver Canucks need new owners. That's from Lyle. So I think somebody agreeing with you there a little bit there, Steve. This texter says simply, my thoughts, go Habs. So we got a bandwagon to jump on in the meantime. That's all right. Maybe we should talk about Montreal in a second. But here's another text at 71010. The good news for Vancouver Canucks is that if they finish last again, they'll just have the best odds at first pick. The bad news is that being the Canucks means those odds somehow become congratulations, you've got 3rd overall. I think a lot of people are still a little raw about that, Steve.
Well, I'm still raw about that because of all, you sit there and you're watching this, and then the Leafs get the pick. It's bad enough you're dropping down, but the Leafs got the pick.
It's like you're already injured, and here comes the salt. Just let's just get it in there. All right. That's great. Now back to the thought about the Habs. Just give me a sense of Montreal. I mean, they've made it again. Have they really become Canada's team here? It seems like it.
No,
they haven't. Okay, why not?
Because it's a nice theory about having a team, that we're going to cheer the last Canadian team remaining. But there is so much hostility because of social media and the back and forth and how obnoxious fans of almost every team are to fans of the other teams that it kind of gets wiped away now. It's not the same. Like if we didn't have social media and it was just, us radio kind of guys and the TV guys left, we would, everybody would be on board. But just because fans tend to just stoke the fires of other fans, I think there's some deep resentment with Hab fans.
Okay, so there's another example of social media ruining everything. Okay, so there we go. And then one last thing, Steve. I got to get to this because I need you to make this make sense to me. So the BC Sports Hall of Fame. I'm leaving hockey completely. I'm leaving hockey completely. I'm sorry. I'm going to get you wound up with only like 30 seconds left. But okay, so BC Sports Hall of Fame. It's in BC Place Stadium. That's where it lives. Of course, we have turned BC Place Stadium over to FIFA for the World Cup. And you were explaining this last time we spoke, that they actually have to give over the whole stadium. Like we've got nothing, we're not allowed to be in there doing anything anymore. And one of the things that's happened is the BC Sports Hall of Fame has been moved. It's been put into storage because of all this. So talk about this real quick.
Okay, so first of all, FIFA just are horrible with the way they treat host cities. It's just brutal. Second of all, the BC Sports Hall of Fame is the kind of thing me as a visitor would have liked to have seen when I arrived in Vancouver. Like, I remember the first time I went to BC Place, and I was going to a Luke Bryan concert, and I got there a little early, so I went through the BC Sports Hall of Fame, and they had all the stuff from the Vancouver 2010 and all this neat stuff in there. Nobody's going to see it because they stacked it away in a corner. And then the people don't have their jobs for the summer because FIFA's taken over the building. They won't let anybody in. And now you're going to have to move all that stuff into their new surroundings. And all the government is going to say is, well, we got the new surroundings once this is all over. Not good enough.
You think they should have maybe opened up like a satellite Hall of Fame for the time being or something?
I think they should have done something, and I certainly think they should have been compensating the workers who are losing wages.
Well, we'll leave it there, but I didn't even know about this. BC Sports Hall of Fame has been kicked out of BC Place Stadium by FIFA for the time being. How do you feel about that? Let us know. That's how Steve feels about it, and Sports Guy Steve, always appreciated. I love our chats, and we'll get you on the news desk a little later today.
Take care.
All right, 8:30 News next.
From CFAX 1070.
Here's what's happening around the island. Join Capital Bike for Spring Go By Bike Week, May 30th to June 5th. Register and find celebration stations at gobybikebc.ca. Sign up for the Walk for Alzheimer's Sunday, May 31st at Fisherman's Wharf. More info at walkforalzheimers.ca. Get more event info at CFAX1070.com.
If it's happening, it's here.
CFAX 1070.
CFAX Victoria.
An iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
It's here.
CFAX 1070.
Good morning. It's 8:31 on Wednesday, May 20th. Got a traffic tip right off the top from 71010. A listener out there on Souk Road says it's bottlenecked in both directions at Hatley Cemetery. So that's through Colwood. They say a semi-truck is taking up one inbound lane right across from the outbound lane. There's 4 lanes down to 2, according to this texter. Again, that's Souk Road right around Hatley Cemetery. Thanks for the tip. And now to the news. Here's Lisa.
Thank you. Looking at the job front as we head into summer months, a new report suggests a weaker economy and rising costs are leaving little room for small business to hire and train inexperienced youth.
While small businesses remain the training ground for many young people entering the workforce, a survey by the CFIB says small businesses are facing challenges from weak demand and rising payroll costs. That's leaving fewer resources to hire and train young workers. As many small businesses prioritize survival over growth, young people are left with fewer possibilities to secure their first job, which is often crucial to gaining work experience and climbing the career ladder. The youth unemployment rate has been elevated for quite some time and hovered around 14% as of April. Michelle Zedekian, The Canadian Press.
There were emergency room closures at some rural hospitals across BC during the Victoria Day long weekend. Health Minister Josie Osborne says the province is looking at ways to overcome the challenges that rural communities face when it comes to health care.
But in the longer term, I am laser focused on stabilizing emergency departments in these small towns, especially where these closures have been happening. It is why we're looking at alternative service delivery models that might involve nurse practitioners, for example, advanced care paramedics, and other ways to fill those gaps. But ultimately, the long-term solution here is a stable workforce.
Osborne says local health authorities often avert potential closures by being proactive. Things got spicy in the BC legislature during question period yesterday. Eventually, after a couple of stern warnings, the Speaker rejected Skeena Conservative MLA Claire Rattay. She admits she's out of line, but she says she's frustrated with Premier Eby.
So while I recognize that my actions might be, construed as being inappropriate, I think that it was warranted given the situation that we're facing. This Premier is getting increasingly desperate. I think that he recognizes what's coming, and it seems like his tactic is quite commonly to attack other people when they don't have the ability to defend themselves.
The issue was around Conservative support, or lack of, for the Canada LNG Phase 2. The Manitoba government launching an online survey regarding the potential end of seasonal time changes. The survey asks people whether they want to have year-round standard time, year-round daylight time, or keep the current system, which sees clocks adjusted in March and November, as BC had earlier this year. The Premier of the province, Wab Kinew, says in recent months that the tradition of switching clocks is likely coming to an end, but he would talk to people first. He says if they adopt the year-round standard time, it would put us in the same, or Manitoba in the same, as Saskatchewan, Alberta, and BC. The Liberal government has tapped the head of Canada's military, General Jenny Carignan, as a candidate for one of the top roles in NATO.
Carignan is throwing her hat in the ring to become the chair of the NATO Military Committee, the main military advisory role for NATO's top dog, Secretary General Mark Rutte. An election for the senior spot in the alliance is set for September in Denmark for a role that would begin next summer. Carignan has served as Chief of the Defense Staff since summer 2024, a role with no fixed term but typically lasts for 3 years. She will continue to head the Canadian military while the selection process takes place. Kyle Duggan, The Canadian Press, Ottawa.
And that is your CFAX News to 8:35. a CFAX 1070 news poll. We're asking, how confident are you that the snowbirds will return to Canada's skies in the early 2030s? 17% say very confident, 35% somewhat, and 48% say not at all. You can vote at CFAX1070.com, Twitter X, also the iHeartRadio app. And Lisa, best news time is 8:37.
Thank you, Lisa. We have a few texts here after our conversation with sports guy Steve about that BC Sports Hall of Fame getting kicked out of the BC Place Stadium for the soccer, for the FIFA stuff. Texter, FIFA's a huge scam, says one texter.
Yeah.
Another texter says, good morning, Ryan and Lisa and Steve. FIFA is a 4-letter word that makes soccer annoying.
That resonates.
Yeah, so people are not liking this whole thing about the Sports Hall of Fame getting kicked out of BC Place Stadium. Interesting.
Don't blame them.
Thanks for weighing in at 7:10:10. We got a sunny day today. Highs up to 20 degrees, a little cooler by the water, and I'll get you the full forecast in just a moment. But let's talk about the sports. Of course, Steve was weighing in on Adam Foote. The coach of the Vancouver Canucks now fired along with 3 of his assistants after his single season on the job. And it was brand new GM Ryan Johnson who made the announcement yesterday, and he talked about the traits he's looking for in a new bench boss.
Consistency, patience, the ability to connect with a young group and realize that we can't blanket players, that they each have their own path, their own journeys that you got to be attentive to. So those are just some obviously key components out of the gate that I always look for in a coach, regardless of where the state of the team is at.
In the NHL tonight, Western Conference Final opens in Denver with the Colorado Avalanche hosting the Vegas Golden Knights. And in the BCHL, Nanaimo still at it with the Brooks Bandits. They played Game 3 in Nanaimo last night. It was the Brooks Bandits, though, who took it 2-1 in overtime. And with that, Brooks now leads the best-of-7 series 2-1. Game 4, again in Nanaimo tonight. We'll see how that pans out. And the Montreal Victoire aiming to hoist the Walter Cup tonight. They could do it if they get a win over the Ottawa Charge in this Game 4 of the best-of-5 Professional Women's Hockey League Championship Series. The Victoire lead the series 2-1 after suffering a setback back on Monday. All 3 games, by the way, have been decided by just 1 goal. In basketball, New York Knicks rallied to beat the visiting Cleveland Cavaliers 115-104 in overtime in yesterday's opener of the NBA Best-of-7 Eastern Conference Finals. Game 2 is tomorrow. In baseball, New York Yankees downing the Blue Jays 5-4 yesterday. Those two will go at it again today. And that is your sports to 8:39. CFAX 1070 Morning Show is brought to you by Coastal Heat Pumps. For a comfortable home nomad of the season. Big savings on your heating bill. Talk to Coastal Heat Pumps. They're designed for comfort. The South Island's Elite Plus Fujitsu Air Stage dealer. So we had this text a few moments ago about some kind of slowdown on Souk Road. It is right by Hatley Cemetery, so not far from the Royal Roads entrance. Apparently some sort of semi-truck is there, taking up some of the lanes. 4 lanes down to 2, according to this texture. If you got any eyeballs on that, and you can let me know hands-free what's going on, text me at 71010. I don't even know if it's still a problem. It was about 10 minutes ago. The rest of the commute's been looking fairly typical. We've got the paving back on for Cook Street near Finlayson. That'll be going on all this week and into next week as well. Still open, but just delayed at that location. No sailing rates at BC Ferries, and the weather is looking very just calm and pleasant and sunny for the next few days. We got mainly sunny skies today, highs of 20, a little cooler by the water. It's the same story again tomorrow and Friday and Saturday. Just this nice, stable block of weather before it might turn back to clouds and a chance of showers into Sunday or Monday. Right now for the temperatures, it is 13 degrees at the airport. In downtown Victoria right now, it is 12 degrees. On the markets, S&P TSX up 368 to 34,110. Actually, no, it just changed. 34,113 now. Just went up a little bit. In New York, the Dow up 440 to 49,804. The NASDAQ is up 330 to 26,201. Canadian dollar at 72.8 cents U.S. That's now up a tick from yesterday's close.
In the kitchen, in the car, and at the office. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070. Take us with you. Listen live on the free iHeartRadio app.
So, of course, you got Ryan and Lisa here, but there's somebody else who's always here as part of the show, but you never see them or hear them. The producer of the program, Morgana Adby. But, Morgana, you're here right now. We're putting you here in front of the microphone. Hello, Morgana. How are you?
Hello, Ryan. Thank you for letting me just come in and hijack, because we have a topic coming up that I'm really excited about, and I wanted to yap about it for a few minutes before we actually get into it.
This is great. I'm glad you could set this up for us, because we've actually addressed this issue a few times on the show, and you are the reason we have.
Yes, yes. This is, when I was speaking with our guest that we have coming up yesterday, I described it as a bit of a crusade that I have. Like, this is my Roman Empire, the invasive European green crab. Now, these things are like bottom-dwelling devils for our ecosystems. I'm being dead serious right now. They are like terrible for the indigenous Dungeness crab. They are terrible for like all of the little sea life in there. Even the plants. They're bad for the plants. And they, of course, came over just through like natural migration, that probably on ships, we think. Okay. Probably stuck on ships. And they've just invaded our waters. And in places like the Sauk Basin, people are trying really hard to contain this and, collect them and basically send them off to the DFO to be contained, frozen, killed, because these things are like demons. Like, they're not good.
We spoke to somebody a little while ago about this, and you mentioned the plants. Like, not only do they outcompete some of the native species, they will just go around like jerks cutting off the seaweed at the base just for fun.
Yeah, they're literally like, hey, guys, I'm going to ruin this for you, to like all of the local fish that are just there trying to like eat their food, chill, be a thriving ecosystem. They just literally ruin everything. These crabs suck.
Okay, so it's the invasive green crab. It's the issue that's facing some local waters like the Sauk Basin you mentioned. So who we're talking to next is really interesting. So as part of this crusade, you would like us to do something with these crabs. Maybe eat them.
Yes, immediately. That was like my first thought. I'm like,
why don't we just eat these things?
Why don't we just eat these things? I mean, like, nutritionally, I think they would probably be pretty good for you, right?
Just crabs.
As long as they're not poison. I mean, most sea life is pretty nutritionally good for you. We do have issues with like food security in parts of the island and things like that. So of course, my brain immediately was like, let's just cook them. Let's just eat them. And as it turns out, some people have been doing that. And the person that we're going to talk to today is a Vancouver-based chef who is doing just that. Now, she doesn't procure them herself, and so she's going to get into exactly how she gets these invasive European green crabs, because it's a little bit of a complicated process for her. But one of the things that she's doing on the advocacy side of things is asking for the regulations to shift so that there can be commercial fisheries that actually collect these, and it's not just individuals with like a fishing license going out and getting it themselves.
Okay, and with the end goal of hopefully fishing these things to the point that they're not here anymore, but let's eat them along the way.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, to some extent, these things are real prolific. They multiply like crazy. So let's keep our expectations reasonable. But yes, let's as many of them that can be eaten would be very, very good.
Can we eat this invasive European green crab? But we're going to talk to a local chef who's trying to do just that coming up in just a moment. But Morgana Adby, thank you for setting this up and kind of giving us the background as to what's going on here. And anytime you want to talk about green crabs, let us know.
Thank you.
You're welcome anytime. At 8:45, now to the headlines. Here's Lisa.
Thank you. Good morning. A BC Premier says the message he'll relay to the Prime Minister today is that Canada cannot work if, quote, separatist premiers get all of Ottawa's attention. David Eby's been critical of the federal government's recent dealings with Alberta, suggesting that Mark Carney is paying too much attention to a province that is seriously considering separating from Canada. He says with 34 different major projects on the ready to go here in BC, we need to see the same level of attention and support that Alberta is getting. The Prime Minister's office responded, saying 1/3 of the projects and transformative strategies referred to the Major Projects Office are actually located here in BC. Two generic versions of Ozempic are arriving in Canadian pharmacies this week, which means patients who use the drug to treat diabetes or for weight loss may have more options for a fraction of the cost. Health Canada approving both Dr. Reddy's and Apotex General semaglutide about 3 weeks ago. Apotex is based in Canada. They began shipping products yesterday. A spokesperson for Dr. Reddy's did not disclose pricing details except to say this will be competitive. Ozempic can cost hundreds of dollars monthly. Both Ozempic and the generic version are approved by Health Canada for management of diabetes, but some doctors are prescribing it off-label for weight loss. And the U.S. president says he's in no hurry when it comes to settling things with Iran. Speaking to reporters this morning, Trump questioned if Iranian leaders have the good of the people in mind. He says there's a lot of anger in the country right now because people are living so poorly. Trump's latest comments come as the Revolutionary Guard is threatening to escalate the war beyond the Middle East if the U.S. and Israel decide to attack again. And yes, the Strait of Hormuz remains closed. That's your news to 8:47.
Thank you, Lisa. We got traffic and weather and then eating these invasive crabs. That's the topic coming up next.
From CFAX 1070.
Here's what's happening around the island. Join Capital Bike for Spring Go By Bike Week, May 30th to June 5th. Register and find celebration stations at gobybikebc.ca. Sign up for the Walk for Alzheimer's Sunday, May 31st at Fisherman's Wharf. More info at walkforalzheimers.ca. Get more event info at CFAX1070.com.
If it's happening, it's here.
CFAX 1070.
CFAX 1070 traffic and weather. The time is 8:50, and we haven't had any more updates on that thing going on Souk Road near Hatley Cemetery, kind of not far from Royal Roads University's entrance. There was a semi-truck kind of blocking some lanes earlier. That might be clear, though, now. If you see otherwise, text me at 71010. There are reports of a collision on the Pat Bay Highway nearing Elk Lake. It's sort of not quite at Elk Lake, but just as you kind of get near to where the rowing club facility is, it looks like it's a northbound collision that is slowing things up, so look out there. And if I'm wrong about any of those details, because I'm just starting to get those reports, do text us at 71010. For the weather, sunshine today, highs of 20 degrees. Right now, it is 13.
Ryan and Lisa. Mornings on CFAX 1070. Remember, you have us in the palm of your hand. For listeners on the go, listen live on the free iHeartRadio app.
Joining us on the line right now, I've got a chef with Swallowtail Culinary Adventures and an organizer of an event coming up called Eat the Invaders. It's a pop-up at Langara College, and it ties us into this European green crab story we were just talking about a few moments ago. This invasive crab that's showing up on our waters here, prevalent in the Souk Basin, is eating this thing a way out of this problem. Robin Court, chef, joining us on the line. How you doing?
I'm doing really well, yeah.
Great to get you here.
Excited to talk about some crab.
Yeah, because you're into this as well, and it sounds like this is something beyond just these crabs you're talking about with this Eat the Invaders event. Can you maybe start there? What is this thing?
Yeah, so it's an event that features basically invasive or overabundant ingredients in British Columbia that we could basically feel good as humans by eating more of. So European green crab, for example, is super invasive. It basically destroys eelgrass beds, and it can really damage shellfish populations and native crab species. So it's great for humans to just, catch and eat more of these.
Yeah, because you're helping solve the problem, I guess, of getting them out of the environment if you're eating them. Now, when did you first cook these, and how do they cook?
Yeah, so the green crab is a small crab, so it's not like a Dungeness where you're going to be cracking huge claws or anything like that. It's a flavoring, so it's basically a crab. It's the most delicious tasting crab, I would say. You can even just take a bunch and throw them into like a rice cooker sort of thing, and it'll make this delicious crab rice for you.
Oh, okay. So you're not necessarily eating it for the meat. You're using it as to flavor a stock or rice or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, you can eat it as meat. If you find the large males, for example, there's lots of really cool culinary traditions. For example, in Korea, they do it's called gijang, and it's raw crab, actually. So you can marinate it in a really nice stock, sort of, break it in half and then eat it sort of like a popsicle, basically. It's just a really delicious flavored raw crab meat. So there's different cultures around the world that work with small crabs. So bun ryu in Vietnam is like a crab soup sort of thing. So you can use it in lots of ways like that.
Gotcha. What will you be cooking? Are you doing green crabs at this Eat the Invaders pop-up?
Yeah, we are, and it's at La Salle Culinary College near Renfrew SkyTrain station. But it's so we're going to be doing the crab rice. So that'll be served in the crab head shell, so they look really beautiful, with a little bit of marinated tofu. So we take the crab stock and we marinate tofu in it, and it ends up tasting like cheese almost. It's very cheesy and crabby. So it's just a delicious crab. We're also creating a spicy sweet pumpkin seed snack with the marinated crab, sort of you roast it and powder it, and you can make it into spice mixes. And I mean, we're also serving venison and rabbit and lots of other invasives, but the European green crab is one of them that is one of my favorites.
Robin, do you think we hear the word invasive and we stay away? Seems like we're slow to pick up on this when you're saying it's a delicious sort of low-hanging fruit of the ocean that we can readily harvest.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with something, I think if European green crab, for example, it's sort of new and they're small, and it's not part of the culinary tradition that happens on our, everyone knows a Dungeness crab, what you do with it, right? But when something is new to being eaten in an area, these are really revered in Italy, for example. I think it's in Venice that they're eaten a lot because it's European green crab. That's actually where they're supposed to be, right? But yeah, something comes here, and if you think of an invasive, sometimes that can be a little daunting for sure as a word and a term.
Could we possibly export them back to Italy?
Take them back.
Maybe they want to buy them.
Honestly, the east coast of Canada is where we actually had to source the European green crab from, because we're still working out with the DFO, the Department of Fisheries, how can we get a commercial harvest going of these European green crabs so that we can harvest them here? Because our policies right now don't allow for that. We end up, they're a big problem on Haida Gwaii, and when they harvest them, they have to actually just discard them. They can't actually be served as food yet because our systems and our policies aren't set up yet.
So we don't have a way to just go and get the local invasive ones yet to cook them. So we don't have a way to do that.
Well, commercially, recreationally, I think the main thing is that you don't transport the European green crab because it can survive for 5 days on land live. So they can be really moved to other areas and spread easily. So Department of Fisheries is very careful about making sure people don't transport them. And as well, making sure people can identify them correctly and they don't confuse them with other native crabs. Because right now, recreationally, you can harvest them, and there's no quota on how many you can harvest, obviously, because they're invasive and we want to get rid of them. But yeah, you have to be really careful that you can identify them properly.
I was told you could identify them by looking at sort of the number of kind of shell ridges they have at the front, something like that?
Exactly. That is the easiest way. So it's basically 5 spines, so on either side of the eye, and you would count them. I would just look that up on the Department of Fisheries site and just make sure you know how to identify a European green crab before you think about harvesting it.
So if you want to help out and you can recreationally grab one of these guys and correctly identify it, make some crab rice and help everybody out. That's the bottom line, eh?
That's the bottom line. And honestly, come out to our event. You can go to my website, swallowtail.ca, and grab a ticket to the event. That just, we're looking to educate the public and get them eating these things so that they can be excited to go out and harvest them. And you can take female and males. So that's a little bit different from, let's say, a red rock or Dungeness crab. You can only ever take males of those, whereas here they really encourage females. So, and the females sometimes have the roe, basically. They can carry 100,000 eggs basically in their little sack, which makes them, become extremely invasive. But you can eat that roe as well, right? So just think of caviar. It's almost like crab caviar.
Wow. We got to leave it there, but fascinating, interesting stuff. Invasive European green crab. It's a problem here on the coast, but maybe eating them is a part of a solution. But that's where we'll leave it for now. Robin Court, local chef. Good luck with the event. Eat the invaders, and we'll maybe talk again with more crab recipes.
Thanks a lot.
All right, cheers. We are right at a time. That's a lot of fun. We will be back with you tomorrow. Lisa's got your 9 o'clock news, though, coming up. And have a wonderful day.